Folks, we are live. Welcome to Talking Crit. I am Eric Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR. Apparently, the most hated man in a small corner of the OSR right now, or two small corners. Opposite ends. Go figure that one out. To me, stage right, my whatever, is none other than my once a week work spouse, Bad Mike Battalato. Beneath us, not because he is beneath us, is Bill Barsh, Pacesetter Games. Bill, who once he gets together with Gary, who is on here, can figure out how to do a sponsorship for the show, will be sponsoring the Wednesday night. I've been talking about it. I'm out of it. Just let me know when it's done.
Yeah,
All right?
take my money.
You guys figure it out. And Ben, the best hair in gaming, will probably be here later. He has important things to do.
He had a commitment. He was trying to work around it, but he might be here about an hour, I think.
So you better stick around, goddammit. Now, when I'm not sharing things from the peanut gallery, there are two links below, and we will explain what they are real quickly. The first one is a Ko-fi link. It's ko-fi.com/badmike. And Bad Mike. Bad Mike will tell you what that will lead to in a moment. And the other link is tencars-tavern.games/TOQ. And that we will be talking about later in the show. But first, Bill, welcome. And do we want to get you out of the way?
Yeah, let's get me out of the way. I've got a list of names I'd have to read here.
Yeah, so let's go.
I jokingly started a Ko-fi, or as I understand it's pronounced, coffee.
Whatever.
I had to look it up. As a joke, it was a side bet between Zach and I. Well, as of this date, I've raised $150. This is going to go to buying green chili cheeseburgers as we go the green chili cheeseburger way across New Mexico. Next week I'm at ReaperCon right now. After ReaperCon, we are going to drive back to Arizona, and I jokingly started this. And so, yes, we have $150. So part of my Ko-fi or coffee link is I am going to thank everybody that donated money to me. So thanks to Wynn Marsh, her daughter Heather Gardner. Now notice Steve Marsh isn't in here. Steve, he hasn't given me any money. He doesn't get thanked. Sorry, Steve.
He's out in the wilderness, man.
He has given me nothing. Gary Oliver gave me a big donation. I don't know why. He just did. Ty Beard, Steve Getty, Noah Green, Doug Bartholomew, and a special thanks to Joe Dameron. Joe Dameron is the first person to join the Satan Red Club, which is the Satan Red Club is a monthly club where he gets thanked monthly and he gets special free stuff. He comes by the warehouse. So yes, we're running this. I'm trying to get $300. If you have an extra $5, throw it to me. I'm not going to say you're going to get anything worthwhile out of your money. Matter of fact, you're absolutely not going to get anything worthwhile out of your money. You're going to pay for Zach and I to eat hamburgers and drink. He's going to drink Red Bull. Yes, part of it was every $50 we have a live video. So now we're going to do 3 live videos. We have 3 live videos now with $150. So. Yes, we're going to do 3 live videos either along the way. Probably we'll do a Facebook live video like we used to do in the old days. We drove to Gary Connor, Game Hole. Zach wants to do one in a restaurant as we eat the burger and do a review as we eat the burger. So yes, we're going to have fun with this. So yeah, your money will go for a useful purpose, even though it was meant as an inside joke. It was along the lines of, boy, these streamers, man, they could just throw their name up there and they make money. People just throw money on them. I bet if I started one, I could make money. And Zach said, I bet you could, Bad Mike. You should try it. And guess what? They make it very easy to make these pages. It took me 5 minutes to make my coffee page. Now, I found out how coffee makes all their money. So they're free. They give you all the money they get. It all goes to you free. They don't charge you anything. Too good to be true, right? I mean, this is crazy. They charge you for every little extra thing you buy. For instance, if I wanted to put on there that, no, I don't want money for coffee. I want it for cheeseburgers. I have to buy a subscription, $6 a month for a year to do any changes to the site. So right off the bat, if you want to make any changes, you're spending like $70 or $80. Then if you want these different levels of stuff, it costs more. So you can end up spending about $200 a year on your coffee page. But me being the cheapskate that I am, me being Satan being the cheapskate he is, I didn't feel like spending any extra money. So I just did it the cheapest way possible. So thank you to everybody that donated to the account. It's a joke. It's funny. But there's going to be believe me, there'll be a payoff. Next week, we're on our way to Arizona. We'll let you know. We're leaving Monday morning. Monday night will probably be in Albuquerque, and Tuesday we'll leave there, and by Tuesday night we'll be in Arizona. So we'll have some Facebook Live broadcasts. We'll do some fun stuff. So anyway, that was it. Sorry to hijack the show, but that was a payoff that I did not think I'd have to deal with. I thought we'd get like $5. Seriously,
That sounds good to me.
so.
Hey,
Anyway, but that's and Jennifer, Zach's wife, has been very proactive about placing the donation page everywhere, which it's kind of embarrassing. I'm not really that desperate for money, folks, but yes.
it's
So
okay. No, she messaged me and she's like, make sure you have a link for the live chat.
for his coffee page. So, but anyway, the real reason we're here is the gentleman below us, Bill Barsh, and Bill, and I'm not at if I'm not at my warehouse, because if I was at my warehouse, I could show my copy of Endless Encounters, because I was just showing it to Zach and telling him what an incredibly useful book it is.
Great.
So that was the last thing I got for you, because there's so many charts to roll on there. There's all these different wandering monster charts. There's treasure charts. It is extremely useful to have at the table. I had it at the table. We game last Saturday, not this Saturday, but the Saturday before that, and it was at the table. It's great to just roll treasure. It's a really good little treasure rolling, because it's about that thick, man. It's really thick. It's got lots and lots of.
They book him in a little larger than we anticipated. I think it's around 300 pages. So,
but you have something new. You got something new coming out now, which is really interesting, because It goes back to the whole history, the beginning of time. And when we go back a while, because I knew you online for a while, then I saw you at the first North Texas RPG Con. Well, no, actually, I take it back. I saw you at Gen Con, I think the year before that, maybe. Did you go to Gen Con 2008, 2007? And then you came to the first North Texas, and somewhere along the way you thought that this is something I can do for a living, and you started Pacesetter Games, which for those who know is based on a classic game company of the 80s, which you admire a lot. You're a big fan of Pacesetter Games, aren't you?
A big fan of the original Pacesetter. I knew a lot of the guys there. I did not ever work for them. We've always made that perfectly clear. So when I started our Pacesetter, it was more of an homage. I mean, that company folded in '86, I want to say. It could be 5. They were only around like 3 or 4 years, which is amazing when you consider how much stuff they produced. But back in the day, I knew a lot of those guys. Oddly enough, I did a lot of work for Task Force Games back then. So I met them every year at Gen Con. Their vendor space was close to ours. So you just get to know people, right, from that kind of stuff. So Mark Akers is just amazing guys. Steve Sullivan, I've known for a long time, is fantastic. So I love their I got to have dinner with them a couple of times, and I just loved the way they thought about how to run a game company and what a game company should be and what it should do. And that's 25, 30 years later, when I decided to create Pacesetter, I was, searching for a name, and I'm like, they've been gone forever. I'm just going to call those Pacesetter Games and Simulations, and the rest is history. That was 14 years ago. So yeah, right before NTX, the first NTX, I actually incorporated Pacesetter in 2008, and I was working on putting our first module together actually during NTX 1. I think I brought some sample art, if I remember right, and kind of passed it around. And was kind of excited, but it was the first time I got to meet so many people. It was wonderful. And I'm sorry, people in the chat. Hello, everyone over there. I didn't log in, so I don't think I can actually type in it. So I'm not ignoring you guys. I can't. I know a bunch of people said hi, Bill, and hi, Gary and Bob and Ty and everybody else over there. Thanks for being here. But so we've got a going back to our roots. We decided that one of the projects we want to do here on Kickstarter, about once every 12 to 15 months, we're going to do a book called Tome and Quests, and we're going to revisit our original kind of legacy products. So this first one, volume 1, is going to be the first 5 modules we put out, which was in our first year at Pacesetter. So it was 2009, 2010, roughly. And so we took these 5 modules, updated them, put a lot of work into it, actually. Some of them haven't been touched in 12 years. I mean, I think a couple of them we haven't even had available since, I don't know, 2012, something like that. So the Kickstarter's doing, really well. We're real happy with it. But anyway, the idea was take these legacy products, put them together, make them available for people today. And then we were doing it in basically BX/OSE, however you want to look at that. 1,000% compatible with either one, and then a 5e version. So we're kind of bringing them back. So every year we're going to run a Toma Quest, or every 15 months roughly, and we're going to take like the next year's products. Believe it or not, we have roughly 74 unique products that we've published in our 14 years.
Jesus.
Yeah, well, and there's actually more than that, because if you take our box sets, the Blood Cult's got actually 4 or 5 books in it. Different mods, completely different individual modules, like 32-page modules. So Cataclysm had like 9. Red Queen had 4. And there's some others. We're probably actually closer to 100 individual books in this time. So we've got a lot of material to draw upon.
Does anyone else see devil horns on Mike?
I don't.
I don't have any with. I have some at my desk. See, I feel really weird. I'm not at my desk today. I'm at.
I'm assuming I feel bad for my background right now. We're actually we're taking about 20% of our basement here. We've got a totally finished basement here in Michigan, but we're taking a section of it, and it's actually almost done. We're putting a large office in down here for Ben, for Pacesetter, basically. So he's getting a nice 10 by 20 office with, a bunch of big windows and all that.
Wow.
The ones you see behind me. Mm-hmm. So, but our basement's kind of everything else is kind of moved around down here right now. But yeah, so we're under construction, and I'm in a little different spot than I normally am when I try to do a podcast too. So I apologize for the background, people.
Well, look at me. I've got a back door behind me, a screen door. So
I got
nothing but the best.
I got a window.
Yeah, Mike's not his normal place. I'm not my normal place.
No, we're all non-professional. We're very non-professional this weekend. We're
all out of sports. I tell you,
it's called casual. It's called casual.
Yeah, I like that.
So anyway, that's Toma Quest, which I appreciate you putting the page up there for everyone to take a look at. But I don't know if you guys have any questions, like kind of what's in it or what you're thinking or anything like that. I mean, Mike's probably pretty familiar. So
the this is going to contain your first 4 or 5, or just
first 5.
So
first 5. I actually have visual aids. How fun is this going to be?
Oh,
so
hold on a second. If you got visual aids, hold on.
Oh yeah.
I can do something special.
You can do something. So I went through the archive, and the Thing of the Valley. That's a first print Thing of the Valley, right there.
For those who have not delved deeply into the Pacesetter back catalog, Thing of the Valley is one of my probably one of the best OSR, OSE basic expert type modules to come out. I mean, I love that module. That's still the favorite thing by you guys that you've did, or my favorite thing.
We get that, honestly, Mike. It's crazy. We do get that a lot.
It's really good. And that was supposed to be a TSR module at one point, right? Or
I got to be kind of careful, but I guess I probably don't, because TSR doesn't.
Well, it's been 30 years or 40 years.
No one's coming after me. I actually sold that to TSR in '83 as a manuscript, and I actually got paid, got a check, and I joined the Army right after that, so I kind of got a little bit out of gaming, that kind of thing. But it was for BX. It was written completely for BX. It was written for the basic expert set. Well, by the time they, I think, got through it, I mean, I can only speculate here. By the time they kind of got to it, because they actually sent it back, and I had to do a couple of revisions. It was actually a really cool process. I actually have the module style guide. I'm probably the only person on the planet who has one of these. It's dot matrix. It's about 140 pages, and it's their in-house how to produce a module guidebook they have. But anyway, so I had to go through, make some revisions and change things a little bit the way I wanted it and that kind of thing. They wanted me to add some stuff to it. I don't think it was long enough. And then it essentially basically disappeared. So but I believe what happened is that they moved into BECME, and I'm sure this wasn't the only manuscript that they had waiting in the wings for PX, that they just put it aside and moved on to the next thing. I mean, it's not like they paid me a fortune for this thing. I want to say it was like $1,500 or something like that. A lot of money at the time for me, but it was for them, it was enough change, right? So, they technically purchased it, and that's one of the reasons I put it out as our first module for Pacesetter, because it was done. So it was everything was wrapped up in it, and it was just I had to go through and redo everything in PageMaker and all that. So, but
unfortunately, Lorraine Williams just heard us, and I think she's coming after you right now, Bill. She heard.
Yeah, whatever. Want the money back.
So
Lorraine says, "Forget it."
Yeah, if WotC wants it and they're going to publish it, they you know what?
I don't think they have
tomorrow.
They probably don't have a copy in their back.
I really doubt it. I think that whole filing cabinet, whatever it was in, probably got trashed.
So. It just got thrown away. Yeah, most of the stuff got thrown away anyway. But that probably got trashed.
That's kind of I'm sure it did. That's kind of the interesting backstory. The crazy is, I had it on my computer. It was a bear for me to get it off my old Apple. In a digital form that I could actually do something with, because I didn't have an actual physical copy of it, which is kind of a bummer. Right. But anyway, so Thing in the Valley, and then the next module we did was RC2, which was the Screaming Temple.
All right.
Which to me has one. If you said, "Hey, Bill, pick your favorite piece of artwork that Pacesetter's ever done," I'm gonna tell you right now, this is it.
Who was the guy that did that? That was
so Nathan Nada.
Yeah, Nathan Nada.
He did all the illustrations for our first 3.5 modules, and I say 3.5 because he vanished.
He disappeared. Yeah, that was
really.
He had good stuff too. His stuff was really good.
Great, and gorgeous stuff. I absolutely I love it. And the great thing is he sent me all his original pencils, so I actually have them all. So
wow.
As he did it, it was kind of fantastic. So Screaming Temple's in there, and then we have Eruptor's Vengeance, which I'll speak for him because I don't see him in the chat right now, but this is Zach Glazer's apparently favorite module. So he absolutely, all he does is he still talks about it. I mean, it's been 14 damn years. But anyway, Eruptor's Vengeance in there, and this has got a bonus feature that I wrote. This is a 3-part module, actually. All 3 parts are in this book. So Fell Horde, which we ran as a tournament at NTX about 6 years ago. And then the third entry is called The Forgotten Dark, which virtually no one's ever seen, and that's also in this book. So we completed the whole series. It's going to be in Tome of Quest. And then let's see what else we have. Oh, we have The Lost Caravan.
I have a story about this after you tell your story too, by the way.
So I'm sure you do. So this module actually, I wrote this in early 1980s. I ran it as a tournament at WinterCon 11 in 1982. So
damn,
at Oakland University. Yep. And then I would show you a copy of V1, The Vampire's Curse, but I don't have one. So if anyone's interested, if you go to my Facebook page or the Pacesetter Facebook page, I posted a picture today of me at NTX. I had the books directly shipped there, and I was actually numbering them at the table at NTX. I have a picture of me doing that there, whatever. And apparently I sent all 100 copies to NTX. I must have sold them all because I don't have a single one.
I bet. Well, you know what? I need to look at Doug's files. Doug loved your stuff. He bought 3 copies.
He bought 3 of everything. Yeah.
And so there's still, we have some of those we haven't auctioned off yet. I need to look through there. I bet I can find those in there somewhere.
Yeah, you put a V1 up on bidding on it. I'm just telling people right now because I don't have one.
So my story about the Lost Caravan was,
here we go.
You ran that at a I want to say
2
North Texas.
Sure,
because we're still at the
La Quinta or whatever.
Suites.
The suites, yes.
The Staybridge Suites.
Staybridge Suites.
And you ran it as what is your late night module. This is module known. This is an event known for lots of things. It was a drinking event. Okay, so you would run this at night, and there'd be a bottle of Jack on the table, and everybody would drink.
Yep.
So I'm sitting down there doing something, and somebody says, "Hey, man, You better come up there at a Bills game. There's about to be a fist fight. I'm like, okay, Bill got drunk and he's going to beat somebody up. Somebody got drunk and they don't like Bill beat up. No, I go up there and I don't even, maybe you know more of the story than I did. All I know is Mark Greenberg is going to beat somebody up. And Mark Greenberg, of all people, who is the gentlest, sweetest, nicest guy, he had gotten an argument with somebody. I don't know who. And if you don't know, you don't have to say the name. I don't know who it was.
I do know, but I'm not going to say the name. But if you buy me a drink or I buy you a drink in Texas, I'll tell you who it is.
They were going to come to blows. Bill was playing peacemaker. He was like, guys, calm down. It's just a game. Bill's like trying to like, come on down. It's just a game. Everything's cool. We're going to do this. So I don't even know what was the argument about. Do you remember what the argument was about? Like, we're going to go this way. We're going to go that way, or I mean, was it? You know?
Yeah, I think Mark might have been playing a paladin. Maybe I think his character was a paladin character, whatever. And this is again, we're at a game convention, right? We're just playing. Right. We're playing a D&D adventure. It was my first time I ever run a game at Texas. It was a Saturday night game. I think it's 7:00. And and now it's another part of the story. I've run a Saturday night game ever since. So the last 14 years.
Yeah.
So anyway, nothing will ever meet this thing. So the other guy didn't like the way Mark was playing his paladin, which was just normal. I mean, just there was no heavy role playing here. They were finding things, killing things, and trying to solve this mystery, right? So, but this guy just got so obsessed with role playing, ROLE playing, that it just developed into something that wasn't real pretty. And I think I remember you coming up and I'm just like,
everybody's like, oh, okay, what is going on?
I think the other guy said, okay, well, if you guys aren't going to play, basically said, if you other 7 guys aren't going to play the way I want to play, I'm leaving.
He left. Yeah, that solved the problem. He left, and that solved the problem. So it was funny.
I didn't think that's where actually we were going to go because I actually forgot about that.
Oh, okay.
I thought you were going to go to the part where the guys playing, we played till about 3:00 in the morning. These guys made at least 2 runs to the liquor store during the course of this game.
Okay, yeah. So I've got another story. So keep going. I don't know if it's the same story.
I don't remember much after that, Mike. So anyway, we played. We ended in the early hour, late hours, whatever the morning. Went to bed and got next day. Come downstairs and Mike says, "Hey, you got to come up to the board because we ran this in a boardroom. We had a big boardroom. Big table, a couple side tables." And Mike goes, "You got to come up to this boardroom." I'm like, "Uh-oh, what did we do?" Yep. So you can take it from there.
So we walk in there and it looks like the hills of Verdun after the Germans and the English clashed or the French clashed. There was beer cans, bottles everywhere. I mean, there must have been 5 cases of empties there. At least
there wasn't a surface to put anything down on.
And in the middle, there's an empty bottle of Jack, and it wasn't a bottle of Jack. It's one of those big, comical, oversized bottles of Jack.
Not just a regular for me. Yeah, you bought one of those gallon jugs.
It was right in the middle of the table, empty. And there was. I've been to frat parties. I've been to bachelor parties. I've never seen that many empties in one spot. And I think I basically told you we need to clean this shit up. You've got to clean this up because we cannot ask the people in the hotel to clean this up. Because I think technically we weren't really supposed to be drinking in the boardroom. So it was off the hook. Mess. Oh my God, it was a mess.
It was.
But apparently a very memorable game. Very memorable game of the Lost Caravan. Did they ever find the caravan, or do you know? Did you even?
No, I don't know. I really, like I said, I really can't remember if they ever got the end. I don't think anyone cared.
At that point, they're just like whatever.
It was. All I can tell you is we had a great time, and people talk about this. Yes. Some of the people who played in that are still coming to the con every year, right? And there's are part of that Knights Valiant Club, and we still joke about it and stuff. Somebody asked me how did I get off a floppy disk. It wasn't on a floppy disk. It was actually on the hard drive, and I used a SideQuest drive to get it off my old Apple. Yeah.
That's great because these are some really good adventures, and it's great because it's back in print. Because I think some of them has, for instance, this Lost Caravan, has that been in print since this, or did you ever reprint that? I don't think you ever did you?
All of them had probably a couple printings. So all of them had. This is the one I just showed you as a first because it's number 150 of 150. I think all of them probably hit 2 or 3. Some of them have been around. Screaming Temple's been around. We even did that in 5e, I think. But most of them have not. The Vampire's Curse for sure. He only saw a couple of printings. Lost Caravan only saw a couple of printings. So most of these have not. And like I said, there's new content with Eruptor's Vengeance. That whole series is done and out now in this book.
I know Vampire's Curse had a cover by somebody who
Stephen Pogue.
That's it. I think that's the only thing he ever did for you. Yeah, was that?
He did the whole module. So he did the covers, right. And then.
But after that, you used new artwork after that, right? When you did it, we reprinted it.
We did.
That's a tough one to find. No, that's a really tough one to find. That I'll have to look at.
It's a really hard one to find. You don't. Yeah. So another kind of thing about this is if somebody out there says, "Hey, well, I've got some of those, whatever. Why do I need this book?" Well, one, if you've got some of these, original modules, Mike, you can tell them what these things.
Oh yeah. So that's the first printings.
If they show up,
the ones that they're signed. They're signed in. We've been auctioning off parts of Doug's collection to give to his widow, and some of those have gone for some extremely high prices because there's Pacesetter collectors out there and they want a first printing because they're. And what's cool is you signed and numbered them, so it's really obvious. This is first printing, signed and numbered. Whatever 23 of 100 or whatever. So it's pretty it's pretty obvious. This is. First printing, second printing, third printing, but the first printings go anything that's been around a long time. You guys have been around 14, 15 years. When you've been around that long, and the same thing happens with Necromancer / Frogger Game stuff is when you've been around that long, your earliest stuff gets to be worth something because people are like, a company is not a fly by night company. They've been around a long time. They might be around a long time in the future. So it's a nostalgia thing, definitely. But
we've been there, done that. So this book kind of gives you all these modules. Honestly, for $45, you're going to get them all, and then you're going to get a digital version of the whole thing too, because we always do digital with our heart. With any physical book, you always get a digital for free. We've always done that. So it's a great way if you want some of this old stuff. And again, they're updated. The great thing is you're going to have. They're not reprinted like. The Goodman does with the old TSR stuff, right? So we've reformatted these. They're full color. There's all new maps by Keelan Halverson, who is a genius as far as map.
Yeah, Wonky's great. Wonky is really.
He's ridiculous. So and that's Ben. Ben can take credit for basically discovering him because he came to Texas from Alaska, and Ben snagged him like on day one, brought him to the Pacesetter booth, said, "You're hired," and we've used him ever since. But he's great. We got all new full color art going in there, just like kind of what you see on the cover. We got a couple people doing our art. One of them's in Poland. They do fantastic work. So it's going to be a new looking project. Someone's asking, I know they asked like how many BX backers we have. Mm-hmm. The way we set this up, because we just wanted to limit different pledge levels. We're not really going to know that exact number till we go to backer kit fulfillment. But I can tell you right now, based on our other projects, we're about 480 backers right now.
Yep.
We usually run around 25% BX, roughly. Some more, some less. I know Path of the Vanish, which is a big adventure book that we did, ran a little more than that. I think it was like 30 or 35% BX backers, as opposed to 5e. But Endless Encounters was a little different. That one ran 20% BX and 80% 5e, and that had like 1,500 backers. That was a huge project. So I think we're going to probably wind up in that range somewhere, but we've got a long way to go. And our projects, inside baseball for people, our Kickstarter projects, typically we've been doing this for a while. Like everybody else, you have a big start. We don't really plateau necessarily for the middle 2 weeks. We have a steady climb, and then in the big surge usually at the end. So we're pretty consistent. Where this one's going to end up, I don't know. Campaign books or adventure books really do well with the BX crowd. So I expect that number probably to be higher as a percentage at the end. Then probably 25% is probably going to be jumping at 30-35% range. And I would, I hate forecasting. I don't want to do it. I don't want to tell you, but if you look at our last 2 or 3 Kickstarters, you'll get an idea where this is probably going to wind up. So we're on the same trajectory. We're just under the trajectory of Endless Encounters, and we're way ahead of Path of the Vanish. So Path did 600 or 700 backers, and Endless did like 14. So
Yeah, and you're nearly 20K with 21 days to go. That's not bad.
Yeah, we're real happy. We had a really good start, and like I said, we're pretty steady Eddie. We generated, there'll be pledgers every single day, and if it continues to pattern that it's doing, and our other books have done, we'll hit our stretch goals. I would assume so. And we don't have many stretch goals in this, and we did that on purpose, by the way, guys. So this book we really want to turn this one around quick. The manuscript's done. It's already back from the editor. So all the art's been commissioned. We have a bunch of it. I think Ben has it throughout the Kickstarter somewhere. Some of it I think showed up in the video. If you haven't watched the video, watch the video. It's hilarious. It's really good. And then Wonky is busily working on the maps. He's got a bunch of them done. So we're really looking to turn this project around very quickly, just because of the way the year is coming to an end,
Right.
And timing with potentially launching another one at the end of the year is always dicey for the fourth quarter of the year. I know Frog Guy's probably the same thing. You guys, we all kind of.
Oh yeah.
If we can't get one out by a certain date, we're probably we're gonna hold off. So we're just gonna see how this goes.
Hey, we're actually on a schedule for Frog Eye nowadays. It's weird. It's crazy, but we actually
we're the same way. And that's the beautiful thing about having Ben here doing everything full time is, we've got a bunch of projects already lined up, and we've probably got 2023 and 24 scheduled out already. So
that's great. That's great.
Yeah. So it's the way of the world, right? Kickstarter's changed a lot of the way we do things. So, but yeah, we're real happy with this project. Thank you for whoever just backed. I always like to thank someone when they back. It's important to us. And for us, it's all about backers. I mean, the money levels are what they are, but we really are appreciative of everyone who does back our projects. It's important.
Well, what's cool is about Pacesetter now is, and this is one of the most important things about running a company, is you have a back catalog now, and people don't understand back catalog is super important for companies like this. And I know that's one of the great things about working with Frog Guide and having Frog Guide is we have a gigantic back catalog. So if we're sitting there one day like, what's our next project? Hey, wait a second, we haven't converted Necropolis yet. And I just saw the new Necropolis. It's incredible. It's Mark Greenwood did
Yeah, I can't wait to see that. Can't wait to see it.
Anyway, but the back catalog, I mean, that makes a lot of things possible that you're able to do projects
exactly,
like
this. And that's like I said, probably end of the year next year ish. We'll launch Tomo Quest Volume 2, and we'll push out the next 5 books, which were some really big books for us. We did our B1 sequel, Legacy of the Unknown, which is it's a monster module. 64 pages, and if you ever want to find out,
look who snuck into my room, my hotel room.
Oh boy,
I've got Jen is going to get me ice.
Oh,
okay,
nice.
so this is how nice they are to me. I texted them and said that I wanted to know where the ice machine was, and they actually came from the room next door to get me ice. Well, actually, Jen did. Zach is now sitting down and just going to probably glare at me as I continue that. We'll see if you had a headphones, you could jump in, but you don't have any headphones, so I don't know what you're going to do. Nobody can hear you. So, oh, actually, they can hear you. The mics in the computer.
I think I heard it.
You just can't hear anybody. You can't hear anybody else. So.
But you're 100% right on that back end.
Bad Mike.
They already donated to Ko-Fi. Thank you. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bill. He didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're right about the whole back catalog thing. So, it's important. Like I said, we'll do Volume 2 coming up. And, one of the projects we have coming up next year is, everyone a lot of people do know that we have rights to print Palace of the Vampire Queen, Dwarven Glory, and Misty Isle. So next year, one of those 3, we're going to do a complete relaunch of it. And it's going to be fully converted, probably for BX and 5e. It's probably going to be Palace of the Vampire Queen, I would guess.
Are you still in contact with Peter Karaston by any chance?
No.
I had somebody ask about him the other day, and I have not talked to him in years myself, so I don't know.
I was up for quite a while. We corresponded, but basically at a certain, he mentioned several times, it's like, he loved this part of his life, but he's moved on. He's
He
moved
has.
way
Yeah.
on. And I told him, I said, he said, hey, whatever you do, though, send me copies. So, and we've sent him copies of everything we've done with it previously. And he goes, I'd still love to see it, but he's just happy that he's happy that someone's doing something with it.
And I'm glad, it's really cool how it worked out, because this is one of the first people that Doug looked up when we were looking at stuff to reprint. I mean, the whole story of this. So the story, and it's cool because Pacesetter is part of the story too. But this was Doug looking up people who came up with stuff, and he looked up We Warriors, and so he finds Judy Carriston, who Peter is divorced, and they're divorced at this point, and they had a company called We Warriors, which published, as many know, the first. What do they call first RPG module, first D&D module? I don't know.
It's the first D&D module ever produced. I mean, it really is. So, I mean, and not even there's no debate about this. It just is.
No, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and he actually looked up Morno too, the artist, because he wanted to reprint this, and so he got the permission of Judy. Says, I don't care what you do. I don't have anything to do with it anymore. Peter said he didn't care, and Peter actually made the point that, I just threw the proofs away about 3 or 4 months ago. I went, I know. My God,
I know.
Just throw them away because I just got rid of them. And then Morno said, I don't care about my old art anymore. I don't even care about it. So I was like, well, that sounds like I can reprint it. So he got the permission of Peter, and he ran it. We ran, I think, for the second Art and RPG Con. Thanks, Jen. We reprinted 100 copy digest, which, if you find it nowadays, is worth about $400. It became a collectible, which is hilarious. Yep. And then he followed with Misty Isles and
Dwarven Glory. With all three of them.
And so, and after that, we invited Peter to the con. He came a couple times. He was a little out of place because he is a professor now. He's no longer in the game industry at all. It's just something they did in the 70s, right? They just did in the 70s, did it for a while, got out of it, and they did other things. And so, but when he came to North Texas, you were able to meet him then, right? You were able to meet Peter.
Yeah,
and so you were able to cut your own deal with Peter too, because at the time Peter gave us the permission to print anything We Warriors had. And thanks, Jen. Yeah, that's perfect. So this is what happens when you have a successful coffee account. Apparently, she's saying everybody wants your money. Then no, thank you, Jen. That was okay. Now they're going. Thanks, Glazers. Anyway, but. What was I even talking about? I forgot. I don't know.
Just Peter and how he's a professor, right?
So he gave some rights to everything, but we never reprinted anything but those 3 items. But Doug could have reprinted anything. I mean, they had some other products too. And then he talked to you, and then you had your own reprints of it, because he was really good about just giving anybody permission, which is good though, because the information needs to be free, right? I mean, this is historical stuff, and it drives me crazy. Yeah. So sometimes stuff you can't get. You can't get this stuff.
Our angle was, I wanted to do a conversion for it to make it more playable for people to actually play it, because it's an awesome artifact to have, but it's eminently almost unplayable. I mean, honestly, but especially, very few people do play. I'm not trying to offend anyone, but very few people play OD&D anymore. I know that there's people who do, and it's awesome, but very few people play it. So, our angle was, hey, we're going to do this in first edition AD&D, and that's what we wound up doing. And, it was the same thing. Like, the guy was incredibly jerky. He's like, hey, do whatever you want with them. And I said, well, when after the convention, I'm going to send you an email, and let's just write something up, because I do want to have something written down. I just don't want to start publishing stuff. And he did. He sent us a thing, said you have full rights. And he didn't just, it's the same thing with Doug. He didn't just say those throughout. He said all We Warriors products.
He really didn't. What was so cool about Peter is he really didn't care.
I wasn't asking for that, but
great. He really did not care about that part of his life anymore, which the game.
No, he didn't. He had moved on.
He really just wanted that stuff to get out. He thought that was cool that people were still interested in it. And
so
I wish more third-party publishers were like that, and they let their stuff just be reprinted like that, because it helped to get out there. Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff out there I'd love to see. And we wound up reprinting Embattled Trek. Now, we had a new cover drawn up for it because we would have been, I didn't need a cease and desist.
Yeah, now tell the story about Embattled. Now, what was the story about Embattled Trek? Now, that's a different story, because that was a bozo no-no from the word go, right, when that came out.
So the Embattled Trek is basically a Star Trek spaceship combat game. It's literally like 6 pages. It's really small. but you have to cut out your own page counters and that kind of thing. But it's a war game. It's not an RPG. But the cover is basically a Federation heavy cruiser, an Enterprise. Okay.
Right.
A lot of times I revert to my Starfleet battle stuff, guys. Sorry, but and then a Klingon D7 heavy cruiser fighting each other, and Paramount apparently I think sent them a cease and desist at the time, saying, "Hey, you can't do this." So
I remember it was very hard to find for quite a few years. That was a tough
very
one to
difficult.
find. Yeah.
So we reprinted it, and we did it we did a 100% charity thing with it, because that's when Mike Carey passed away. For all you NTX guys, Mike is a special guy who came to all the NTXs, and he passed away a few years back. And so we reprinted the in Battletrek. I had Raven Metcalf draw me a new cover so we wouldn't get in trouble. The original cover is actually in there. We just put it in the back.
Yeah, Paramount's probably not paying that much. They're probably not paying attention these days.
They're not paying attention, and it doesn't matter. We printed, I want to say 75 copies. We pre-sold almost virtually all. I do actually have some left.
I think they're all gone.
We charged like $20 a piece for them, and we donated all the proceeds to Mike Carey's widow, or mom,
or his mom. Yeah, his mom.
His mom. I remember you gave us a PayPal account or whatever. So and that was something great to do. So we did that with it too. But so anyway, next year we'll probably Vampire Queen's probably on the agenda, is one of the products we're doing. We got Gamma X coming out next year. That'll probably be the first part of the year. That'll be a big project. But
Gamma X, now that's a Gamma World clone.
It's Gamma World clone. It's 1E, 2E for the most part, but we're using 90% of the core mechanic is going to be BX, D&D, or OSE, or whatever you want to call it.
Which, by the way, 1E, 2E Gamma World was the best Gamma World by far.
They have the best Gamma World. They're most evocative for sure, I think. I think people love the mechanic of 3E. I mean, we're taking parts from probably 3E too, but very little. But it's mostly 1E. I mean, it's going to have that 1E, 2E feel, but we're definitely we're amping up the rules. And if you played 1E Gamma World, there's a lot of BX-ish rules already in there.
Oh, yeah. Very much so. It's in the DNA. Yeah.
It's in the DNA. And so we're just kind of cleaning all that up. And it's a clone, but it's also going to be its own. But I mean, it's a big project. It's going to have a player's guide. It's going to have a game master guide. We're probably going to do it. It's going to be a big Kickstarter launch. I think we're going to do a box set for the Kickstarter, but that will be the only time you get a box.
It'll
be like a Kickstarter exclusive. After that, it's just going to be the hardcover book. There'll be hardcover books. And then I've got a couple modules in production in the works for it too. So it's going to be a big project, and we're real excited about it. And we do get a lot of people asking about it. So
I'm very interested. That was my, we played Gamma World back in the early 80s, and we played first. Now I played a little 4th edition. 4th edition was pretty good too. That was the book that came out in the 90s. That was 90s. But 1 and 2 is where it was at, man. That was extremely evocative. The Legion of Gold module was a great module, and that's almost everybody that back then started out with that module. And it was a
Legion of Gold, Famine, and Fargo are the best too. Most of the ones that came after that are terrible. The module in the game screen, I think for the 3rd edition.
I love Spaceport, Albuquerque Spaceport's
brilliant.
I love that one. Right? Yeah, I love that too.
Yeah, we love that adventure. But so Gamma X is going to be a big deal. We're real excited about it. But that's going to be probably the first part of the year in 23. I don't know if it'll be our first Kickstarter of the year, but it's going to be there. We really want to have it ready. So retail versions will be at NTX. That'll be the retail debut. For the most part, outside of Kickstarter. I mean, we should have
because you bring something to NTX, it's going to sell out almost, or almost sell out at this point. Anything Pacesetter brings, it's like it's gone.
Anything we are very fortunate, and we're very blessed, and we're more than appreciative of our NTX people, because that convention is always taking care of Pacesetter. I mean, we share a birthday for the most part. We kind of came about at the exact same time, and it's we consider North Texas our home convention, even though we're from Michigan. So for us, it really is. And you guys are great. You're like family down there to us. So.
No, we love having you guys there. It was great when Ben first started coming too, because we knew you had a son. We knew you had this son, but he never showed up to any conventions or anything. And then one year you walk into my my B1 game and say, "Here's my son Ben. He just got in. He can't play any games. Can he join your game?" That was, and Errol Otis is sitting right there.
So
I'm like, "Yeah."
I was signed up for it. I was signed up for your game, but I was busy.
That's right. Yes.
And I'm like, "Hey, Ben's going to take my spot," and he sits down at the table, and I kind of take off, and I came back a little bit later. I think you were maybe a half hour later, whatever, just to kind of check in or whatever and see what's going on, and I'm like, "Hey, he's sitting next to Errol Otis."
It was great. He just sits down and it's like Errol. Oh, he's sitting right next to Errol Otis, who's just playing away. So that was an awesome first North Texas for him to go in there and then just hang out and sit with. And then he won the chariot racing 2 years. I don't know if it was that year. 2 years in a row. So yeah, he made a big. He was a big hit. He made a big splash. North Texas showing up.
He did. He's got 2 giant trophies. He still got them. Mm-hmm. His T-shirt that Rob made for him. Yeah, he really enjoyed that. And then he actually played in that. Was it Margaret Weiss that came, or was it Hickman? Who came?
Tracy Hickman when he did he got
into Tracy Hickman's game. I mean, this kid got into more luminaries.
I know, ridiculous.
But yeah,
he got so lucky. Yeah,
he got lucky. Yeah. Yeah, he was. I was right before. I mean, we could talk a little, Ben and Gary. We're not talking BattleTech, so just no.
Gary tried to bring in BattleTech, but BattleTech. But what about BattleTech?
Yeah. What they call it, BattleTech now is what they're calling us.
Because so Gary.
No. So anyway. The year before Ben came to NTX, I was running the OSR booth at Gen Con for 2 or 3 years. We ran it. And the first year I did it, it was overwhelming. So I'm like, I need help. Mm-hmm. So I grabbed, I'm like, okay, kids, you guys are coming with me. My oldest daughter had a conflict. I know she had a sports conflict, so she couldn't make it. So my youngest daughter came, and then Ben wasn't going to go. And I'm like, you'll love it. Believe me, you'll love this Gen Con thing. So he came. So that was actually his first convention. So him and my youngest daughter were at Gen Con. They walk in that vendor's hall, and that was an eye-opening experience for them because they had no idea what to expect.
It's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy.
Ridiculous. But Ben had a great time, and now he has not missed the NTX since he came.
We love having him in there. He's
got to be a number 6 or 7 for him now, at least. So.
At least. Yeah.
Yep.
It's really cool to see what's great about Ben going there, and just because you were there at the first North Texas, Bill. You know, there was only 55 people. There wasn't a lot, but we've got to the point now, 15 years later. This will be our 15th year anniversary. Now we have grown-up kids that are going to the con that were just little tiny kids, because the first con we went to, it's all adults, right? It's all these adults there, and then you have these little kids you leave at home, or in my case, grandkids. Well, now. You know, my grandson's 18. Your son's what, 22?
22.
22.
You nailed it.
And so, and so now we're seeing them continue the tradition, because we go to North Texas now. You notice there's a ton of younger people there. And when the first couple, 2 or 3, it was all old dudes, right? It was all a bunch of old dudes.
Oh, I just lied, Mike. I'm sorry. He's 24. My youngest daughter.
My God. Okay. I thought he was.
My youngest daughter's 22. I got to do a catch up because they're all 2 years apart.
24.
My oldest daughter's 26.
I got
24. And Anna's 22. So we got 2 year spread. So yeah, he's 20. He's the 24-year-old.
But now to see them all grown up is so cool, and see them all interacting,
amazing.
Because
Bill's
kids and everybody. Yeah.
Your grandkids were knee high to a grasshopper when they came. Gosh. I mean, it was crazy. Yeah.
Gary's it's really cool. Yeah. Gary's 2 sons and just all everybody's kids that were real little. I mean, Alan Growe brings his sons now.
Henry,
John Hirschberger's daughters come. I mean, it's just wild, because we saw them when they were real little, and they would sometimes come, and now they come and they're basically adults, and it's really cool to see them continue the
part of the fabric. Part of the fabric. Yeah. So anyway, Gamma X. If you guys want more backstory on that, because a bunch of people did plop down in the thing here, the comments. I know there's a Jim Wampler's got a big article on Gamma X, and I think it's Scientific Barbarian 4 or whichever one's coming out. He's got a big article in there, and then Tom. Why am I'm losing my mind.
Tom Wilson.
Tom Wilson is doing write up on it in his next Gamma magazine. So
Tom's got some really good Tom does some really good post-apocalyptic stuff too. He did a few.
He does.
Few
He's
modules
really
for North Texas that we sold to North Texas some digests.
He messages
They
me.
were really good. They're really good.
He messages me every week asking me what's going on with Camax. So he's like, "You gotta get going. You gotta get going."
Chomping at the bit.
About it. So I know Shane is talking about Starfleet at NTX, and as long as I can get a time slot, I'm playing. I mean, so my background for a lot of people here watching or listening, I actually worked for Task Force Games, and my major time was Starfleet Battles back in the early '80s. So I did a ton of work with them. I wrote a ton of adventure scenarios for Starfleet Battles. I helped coordinate events at conventions, at Origins and Gen Con. And then I kind of did some editing on some of their pocket games, is what Task Force called them, mini games, whatever you want to call them. But we were kind of, all the editors, we weren't staff. It's just the way Task Force did things. We were kind of like 1099 employees. So, but I did a lot. I got a lot of credits for Starfleet Battles, by the way. So I love that game. It's one of my favorites of all time for a lot of reasons. But yeah, so I'm going to play in Texas if I can get time to do it, because I get a little busy at Texas. So
just a wee bit.
Yeah. Well, I can't believe that, because Texas is the birthplace of Starfleet Battles, and I can't believe we haven't. I don't think we've had a Starfleet Battles game here, which is crazy.
I threatened Doug numerous times that I was going to run Starfleet Battles because we love our Doug quirks, right? So one of Doug's quirks was this is an RPG convention, right? So you can only run old school RPG games.
Yeah. Unless you were an original member.
Unless you were an original member, if you came the first year,
right?
Or I think you have to be the first year, and you have to have been to all of them. I think.
Right.
I don't remember specifically, but you at least have to be at the first con. You can run anything you want.
Right.
So I threaten him every year. Hey, Doug, I'm gonna run Starfleet Battles one of the years. You better not. Well,
well, Gary and I don't have those rules. You can run if you want to run Starfleet Battles, you run.
Yeah, I'm too busy with the tournament to run it, but anyway, but yeah, if I can play, Shane, I'm in, because I love myself some Starfleet Battles. I've got my Starfleet Battles collection is pretty exhaustive, so, but it's one of my things. So I'm excited for that. I'm already talking NTX. My God, I'm ready.
Gary and I aren't ready yet. Calm down.
I know you're not ready.
We're not ready yet.
It's good. So, yeah. But anyway, I mean, that's probably all the big news for Pacesetter. I mean, we've got a lot going on. Ben is killing it. I am mostly retired. I technically retired in May, right before NTX this year. But I'm consulting with my old company here for another couple months. Then I'm 100% done, and
wow.
Then focus a lot, just all my energies on Pacesetter. So we've got a lot coming down the road, and we appreciate everyone's support. And I thank all these people. I mean, I've been watching the chat go by here. It's awesome, especially because I think we're competing with Biden tonight, aren't we?
Is that really a fair competition? Come on.
He needs the teleprompter, right? He needs it all written for him. We barely even prepare.
We barely prepare.
Well, the same then, right?
We have a lot.
The most organized man in America. I was panicking last Wednesday because
I kept saying y'all were going to be out. Yeah, I got you mixed up. I know, I got you mixed up.
I had to go back to my blog post. I'm like, thank God this blog post tells me who's coming when. Holy crap.
That was awesome.
We're not normally this organized in advance.
No. You guys, you know what? It's called a free flow of information and entertainment. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, I mean, I had a PM on Discord asking me I've watched a couple of your live streams, and what's the theme? And I was like, well, it depends. It depends on the night. If it's
looking at it,
yeah. If it's Wednesday night, it's usually myself and Ben Mike with a special guest, and we're going to talk about the special guest current projects are, and then we'll delve into what the community wants to talk about, the live stream. Bags of shit, whatever we want to step into.
So Gary's saying you had to have gone to all of them, but I thought that was the rule. I thought that was it.
Yeah, I think that was. Yeah,
I couldn't remember. I just we love our Dougisms, and we.
That was it. You had to have been to every convention. So
But yeah, so
you could run whenever you want.
I'm one of those fortunate guys. I've had to been real fortunate to be able to go to all of them, and I'm not going to miss one unless something
Right.
just forces me not to come. So it's I look forward to it every year. I miss it on the flight home back to Michigan. I'm already stressed out that I got to wait 12 months for the next one. So
as Zach says, Dougisms, and Gary says no longer the requirement.
No, we can do whatever. We threw that out. Gary and I looked at each other and said, you know what? We're going to do whatever the F we want.
So I lost a special benefit that Gary's telling me. He took one of my special benefits away. All right, Gary.
We decided, when we first started running the con, and I've told this story many times, we wanted, Doug and I we saw cons at the time, they were taken over by Magic card tournaments, mostly by Pathfinder Society stuff. Right. And we said, we want a pure RPG event because everybody had a convention, plus we're also going to run RPGs too. And we're like, no. We want to be RPGs first and then everything else. And so we're going to limit board games, Warhammer, stuff like that. And I think as the years have gone along, I don't worry about that as much because I think we've got a pretty good mix. And I think people come to the con know what the con's about, right? I mean, they know it's not a Magic tournament con. We're not going to probably run a lot of, Warhammer battle stuff. I mean, we would do that. We're not going to do it. We do battle tech, but it's very, very limited. And so I think our identity has been pretty set now. But we don't have to worry about, okay, you can't do this anymore. You can't do that. The audience kind of figures it out, right? They figure out, okay, I better not schedule a Magic tournament because nobody's going to play a Magic tournament here. But we'll have old school games. There's lots of pre-2000 games. There's lots of retro clones. We have a lot of 5e. There's a lot of 5e games. So it's got its identity now. It pretty much has set its identity. And I don't think and Gary and I both talked about this a few times. We don't think we need to set these restraints on it anymore. Like, okay, you can't do this, you can't do this, because everybody knows, right? If you come to our convention and you run a game of Vampire, nobody's going to show up, right? Because probably nobody will show up. Eric would show up because he still has his cape from 1990. I mean,
I never had a cape. Listen, I own the 4 Vampire rules, the Werewolf rules, and the Mage rules. I thought the Mage rules were really good. I thought the implied setting was awesome.
But stop right there. Stop, Eric. Just stop.
The Mage implied setting was good. Then I bought it with the GURPS rules, hoping my player would play the GURPS version.
Well, they like GURPS. I love the GURPS Vampire.
I think you can't be all things to all people, right? So, sure. And I think NTX just it does what it does, and it does it better than any other old school convention. Period. I mean, it just I go to my grave saying that. If you can only go to one convention, that's the one you need to go to.
Oh, well, we appreciate that. And we like that enough people say that now. And, we've there's only a few conventions. I mean, I've got the point where I'll probably never attend Gen Con again. It's just too big. And I'm really not interested in the big gangbang experience anymore. When you're younger, it's different, but now I'm just like, yeah, but yeah, I like all these little cons. ReaperCon's great. ReaperCon is about 1,000 people, maybe a little under.
Yeah.
We went in 2019. We had a blast. Now, I'll tell you one thing that's cool about ReaperCon is we go here, and Zach and I were mentioning during dinner, we don't know anybody here. We saw Ben Burns, and Mike will be here. We know Mike, and I think Mike and Liz Stewart are going to come by and say hi at some point, but because they live in Denton. But it's cool because it's a whole new different audience. We're so used to going to the same conventions, and this too, Bill. You go to and Eric, we go to Gary Con, we go to Game Hall, we go to cons. Everybody there. You walk in, there's this guy, there's this guy. We walk in here, nobody knows who we are, which is cool, and we don't know who anybody else is. So it's just we just go there and we sell games.
There you go.
So what's cool is we work the booth. When we're describing some of our games people, it's for the first time. These people don't know who Frog Guy Games is. And
yeah,
I really like small cons like that where you're not, people don't know who you are or what you're about.
We're doing the same thing this year. We're diversifying, and mainly again because now I kind of have more time. Because for us, it was always we're just going to our big 3, which were NTX, Gary Con, Game Hall, but now we're diversifying. It looks like we're doing Chaosium Con, that's local for us. I mean, we need to go to a local.
And that looks cool. I am going to try to work. I am going to look into going there next year. Bill, I promise.
And I absolutely mean we're going to host a dinner party here. I don't know what night is that convention? Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Thursday, whatever.
I think so.
The night before. the night before, we're going to host a dinner party here at my house. I'm the very boss. I got a very large house. We can handle a lot of people. Everyone, there's a lot of our crews coming up, the Gettys, Faden,
Oh yeah,
Alex,
yeah, it's gonna.
I think Alex
It's gonna.
Candy,
It looks great. It looks like it's gonna be a blast. Everybody had a good time last year, right?
yeah,
So
Ben Burns will be
it
up
looks
here.
like-
So
yeah.
we're 30 minutes away. So we're literally right down the road from Ann Arbor. So we're gonna do something, and that'll be fun for us. But I think we're gonna do Chaos and Con, it looks like, and then we were talking to people at TotalCon, so I think we're going there this year. We've never been,
cool.
and I know you guys have been.
And TotalCon,
Yeah.
I hear great
So
things
we're
about that.
really looking to do that. That's a drivable convention for us.
Us, that's
It's
why
a haul
we like it.
for me, and it's going to be a 10-hour drive, something like that. But it's doable, right? So
Right.
we're looking to spread out and diversify a little bit, and we're really excited about it because, like you said, Mike, it is great to go to these cons. We went to UConn, which is a local Michigan con, and it's more of a family convention than it is a game, our kind of con. But they play a lot of D&D there. But it was really neat being there because you do get to talk to people who have never heard of
it's great.
which is
really
is
cool.
also disturbing. But it's
It's bound to happen.
it's bound to happen. But it is great to talk to them and say, hey, here's who we are, here's what we're all about. Here's our product line. And if it works for you, that's great. If not, we love sitting here to talk to people about gaming. So
because let's face it, if you go to GaryCon now or GameholeCon, all these guys, when they walk up to you, they're probably not buying anything of yours because they already own it. So you're just going to shoot the shit with them. Like you're not going to be able to make a sale because it's Getty, he's got everyone. Oh, Battle Auto, he's got how much.
It's very true. It's very true. The usual suspects, right, as Jim Kitchen would say.
Yeah.
So are all there now. I will say, like Gamehole is it's a big con, so we do very well there because it isn't. We have a lot of our crowd is there, but there's also a lot of other crowd there, and I expect this year Gamehole is probably really going to blow up. So, Alex has a brilliant convention, so
he puts a great convention, and he talked me into when I went to visit Madison this summer. He talked me into going to Gamehole, and I wasn't going to go, but he talked me into it because I do love it, but. I think it's cool is that I think I've told you this before. I think your booth and our booth was the only booths that made any money last year for some reason. I don't know why, except the fact that we were the only booths really selling D&D stuff because there were so many booths there selling dice and game towers and map boards and all kinds of stuff. And there was a lot of people just selling games.
No, there really weren't, and I mean we always do. We can't complain. We're real happy with Gamehole. We do well, and we were there. We actually weren't going to go last year because we had a schedule conflict. The only problem with Gamehole Con, sometimes it runs this time of year. It's tough for us that time period, especially when you had them on the early November. It's my wife's birthday, and I'm like, that's not a thing. So, but with October, it's a lot better for us. But so we weren't planning on going last year because again we had some kind of schedule issue, and then our schedule broke free, and I shot Alex a message. I said, hey, if anyone cancels out on their booth and you're looking to fill, we're here for you. And he shot me an email right back. He said, yeah, I got space. And it was a last minute deal. We didn't bring a lot of our product catalog, but like you said, we did great. But there weren't, other than you and us and Kabul Press, there really wasn't anyone there selling actual.
Everybody was talking about the last day everybody was talking about what a bad. I didn't do very good. We're like, we made
people struggled with that.
We made so much money.
The vendor hall location, I think, struggled. It did. Well, there were a couple things. One, it was the first COVID year back, and I think they had the mask policy still in place, right? So, I think that made things a little tough. And then, they relocated the vendor hall, to accommodate more people, which is a absolutely laudable thing to do. But it also put us kind of. Gamehole's got it's in a convention center, so for people who don't know about it.
A lot of room. It's really big. It's
fairly large, and they moved the vendor hall. They put us in a very large space. It was awesome. It was a beautiful hall, but it was all the way kind of at the other end of the convention area, which was not a long way to go. We're talking about a couple hundred yards here, right? 200-300 yards from where it was, but traffic was way down, and
it was.
I think everyone was, we heard that a lot from everyone. When it got quiet in there, I mean, you were there, Mike. It got quiet.
Yeah, it did. It was less than he usually had. But I mean, he said this year, I think they have more people pre-registered than they've ever had. So this might be a
Well,
really big year.
but what he did was, Alex is a friend of ours, so I trust his judgment. They're gonna do what they're gonna do, but I think a lot of people weren't real thrilled with that.
Right.
All I know is that a week or two after Gamehole, he sent us and probably you guys and everybody else a personal, not a generic email. I sent a personal email saying, this didn't really work out the way we wanted to. We're moving the vendor hall right back here, front and center. It's going to be our vendor hall. We want it to be the diamond of our convention.
Nice
event.
And some cons won't do that.
For him to do that, right, and say, hey, this didn't really work out. We're putting you back down here. He stood tall and he did we can look at, he just did the right thing. I mean, he really did. He looked at it. He took whatever people were saying and he took it to heart, and he wants to have a great convention. And that's why GameCole is a great convention.
It is. It's the best run convention.
It is the best run convention. Yeah,
it is the best run convention by far.
So,
Gary and I run a convention, and we can say that. It really is, because it's just, he does everything in such a really good fashion. I mean, he approaches everything very methodically and calm, but the point you're bringing up about listening to the people there, that's something that I know that Gary and I that's really big for us. And there's some cons that don't do that. And they have, and those are the cons you have to think about. Well, do I want to keep going back to this con? I'm not going to name any names, but that just happens with cons. Sometimes they don't change, and they won't do it. We were talking earlier about Michicon, about how they're just basically gone now, and they used to be a big giant con there, but they wouldn't adapt either. They kind of wouldn't adapt to the times, and they just kind of faded away after a while. And that's what happens to these cons if you don't change and you don't listen to your audience. And
well, it's not. Sometimes it can be change that is the issue, but you're right. Listen to your audience and adjust for what is needed. Don't get stuck in a rut of, well, this is how we're doing it now. And
like I said, I've been around the convention for a long time. I helped run conventions here in Michigan back in the late 70s and early 80s. We ran a Origins convention here in downtown Detroit. I've been out of that end of the business for a very, very long time, but it doesn't matter. It hasn't changed. What you guys do down in Texas is what we were doing back in the 70s. There's a format that conventions run, and there's just ways you do things. You guys do things right. Gamehole does things right with a plus sign after it.
Right.
And, it's just not everybody else does, unfortunately. And, but you can just tell, like I said, Alex is he's a special guy. That whole crew that he's got up there that help him run that convention thing runs like clockwork. I mean, it is we won't miss it. I mean, we can't wait to go again, and it's coming up quick. So, Mike, you said you're gonna be there, so that's exciting.
I'll be there. Looks like I'll be there. I was debating. So
I am not going to be there. The hotel room sold out too quickly at the hotel.
That's the only knock. That's not their fault.
And that's this year. This year, I mean, actually, the last time we went, we got the hotel room at the going rate, and it was
the Badger. There's the Badger game in town that weekend, and
they're also kind of, so the issue that Gamehole has is that I was going to say it's not really an issue. There's limited hotel space close to the convention center.
Right.
And they've even built new hotels the last few years. They have new hotels there.
Yeah.
And they still have limited space. Very limited space.
We don't stay in there. They have one that adjoins the convention center. We never stay in that one. We stay at the Holiday Inn Express across the street. Mainly because it's the newest one and it's really nice.
I usually stay at the Clarion. It's a dump. The Clarion's a dump. It's an absolute dump.
It's a dump. So they're
nice. The staff is nice, and
it's close. It is close. It's connected. It's connected by.
It is. Me and Ben are prima donnas, so we go across the street to the Holiday Inn Express, and
you should, because it's nice. But that the Sheraton.
It's a really nice facility, but they have limited. They do have limited hotel space there, and that makes things tough. I know. But again, Alex just posted today. He's like 4 rooms popped open at one of the hotels. They called him and said, "Hey, 4 rooms are available." He right on the game thing. Hey,
that's how I got my room.
12 noon, these are going to be available. The guy knows how to run a business,
definitely.
and he's there for the people. He wants to make it a great experience for everyone, and that whole staff does. And I don't deal a lot with Alex, honestly, at convention related stuff, because we deal with other people there. and they're
Yeah.
phenomenal. They're
But
absolutely.
they know, but they all know what they're doing. They all.
Absolutely,
You never get a. I don't know what that is, or I don't know what to do. You never get that at Game Hall.
You never get that. You ask them for a restaurant recommendation, and we did that because we don't know the area that well. I mean, we've been going there for a long time, but this year, me and Ben just a couple. The vendor hall ended, and we're like, we just want to go sit down, and have a good dinner somewhere, and we asked. They even give you great recommend. I mean, just top notch. So I can't recommend it enough. So. Yeah, if you can't make it to NTX, go to Game Hole. You definitely won't be disappointed.
Well, speaking of that,
it's
too,
a different vibe. I mean, I will say it's not an old school convention, and there's a lot of old school stuff there, but it's not an old school convention. It's definitely more a modern con. But they have ridiculous. He's got, what's the thing called, the live dungeon thing that they do? I can't.
Oh yeah. Well, Alex owns live that True Dungeon.
He's a Cheryl.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's
so
awesome.
True Dungeon. Yeah. So they have True Dungeon there, which is ridiculous, right? That's it. That's it only at Origins and Gen Con, for God's sake.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's a Game Hole, so it's really cool. They have I think they have a big Adventures League thing there. Do they have AL there?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
they have AL there, which is, but just a great con. I really enjoyed it. Hey, I saw Lou in the chat, so hi, Lou. Not ignoring
and they have an auction too. As a matter of fact, that I help run the auction. Alex has been really nice last year's. Rick Mines and I run the auction, and this year we welcome Jim Kitchen. Jim Kitchens is going to be with us, so it's going to be awesome. I'm in awe of Jim Kitchen's skill at auctioning. So that is a coup for Alex to get Jim to come to the con. So I've talked to Jim. He's really excited about it, and we're pumped about the auction this year too.
I'll eat my words here. They have a great old school auction, right? I mean, that auction is pure old school, and it's most 90% old school items. It's awesome. Absolutely.
Did we plan on spending 20 minutes tonight sucking up the Alex? We did not. But it just happens. But it just because it
just happens. This is what you said. This is how your show goes, and I love it. I'll talk about anything. I don't care. Hey, Toma Quest, go back it. Yeah, Toma Quest, go back it. You'll love it. That's it. That's all I got to say about it. It'll be great.
As a side note, in the country when I smell skunk and it's not weed, it's actually skunk.
Speaking of small conventions, I just talked to Eddie and Matt, who run LongCon, which is a small convention in East Texas here. I went last year. I flew up from my vacation on the beach to spend 2 days there because I was a special guest, and it was great. They're going to be our guests in about a month or so. I talked to them that they usually have a tough schedule, but we're going to have Eddie and Matt on sometime in September, October. It's going to be fun. They're two hilarious guys. That they have their own podcast, which is great. And so we'll have them on that they can tell us about their small con, which is it's a great con. It's a great small con too. They have
so now I feel like the heel because I left them out. We'll be at LongCon also.
Oh, you're going to LongCon? Oh,
yes.
I'm going to miss it this year. Well, see, last year I got special dispensation from. Well, I flew back. I was at Paradise.
I know. I remember you talking about it.
And Zach and I drove from DFW Airport to LongCon. We hang out, then we drove back. I flew back, so I missed a weekend of the beach, and I don't think I can do it again this year. It was tough to do, and I hate flying anyway. But I think I might have to skip a year but I'm going to miss it because everybody's going. You're going to be there, and I know that Gary's going to be there. And
Gary's actually going. Yeah, Gary's offered to pick me up from the airport and give me a ride over there. Yeah, I'm excited. And Lou's asking me. Yeah, Lou's asking me if this podcast reminds me of our podcast that runs on forever and we get off topic. Yes, there's a commonality here, and it's probably me. So yeah,
that's okay.
Hey, you know what? Can I jump back to Toma Quest real quick because I completely forgot about something?
Definitely.
I'm going to get yelled at by. I'm going to get yelled at by my son. So we have, I think, Eric, if you scroll down, we actually have done something that we've never done before, and we're really excited about. We have 3D printed miniatures. So we have STL files, and what we did is we have a miniature that goes along with each adventure, and it's basically the prime villain.
There you go.
So they are. Let me get up real quick because I just remember seeing them in the background here. I'll grab just a couple of them.
Who did these sculpts, Bill?
I don't know. Look, that's Ben. You got the wrong guy. Ben coordinated all of it.
This is all bad stuff.
I designed the monsters. So, this one. So this is
Cool.
I put my camera. So this is a Drake, and they were originally in BX, but they never showed up anywhere else after that. So this is a white Drake. So he's in Eruptor's Vengeance. So this is STL file. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's unlike I think a lot of STL files. There is so much detail in this thing. It's crazy. It's absolutely gorgeous. That's one of them. Like I said, Eric's got them all on the screen there. That bat's a lot bigger. They're not to scale. That bat's huge. So this is the Fire Giant, who is in. We have Fire Giants in Lost Caravan. There's a lot of giants. Lost Caravan is a transition adventure. If you want to take your campaign into the TSR Giant series, Lost Caravan does a lot of that for you. So here's kind of like you can get some kind of scaling here. So anyway, as Fire Giants, I mean, they're all the scale, 28 millimeter scale. They're beautiful figures. So anyway,
wow, those are nice.
Yeah, there's some detail there. So they're beautiful figures. So anyway, it's the first thing. We've never done that before. So there's we like to innovate at Pacesetter. So there it is. You get for $15, you get 6 miniatures, and they're all the key villains. Or I don't want to spoiler too much stuff. The giant isn't really. He's kind of a key villain, but not. So that one's not a spoiler. But this dude here, the guy with the staff. I don't even want to talk about him because that will totally spoil that adventure. If you are going to play the Vampire's Curse, jump ahead about 15 seconds. But so he's an illusionist and he's the main villain. There's actually no vampire in the Vampire's Curse.
Right.
It actually refers to a couple magic items that mimic powers of a vampire. So. But anyway, Vampire's Curse is one of the funnest modules I ever designed, to be honest with you. It's so effing complicated. You have no idea. It's going to challenge the shit out of any GM and the players. But it's a murder mystery like Agatha Christie style or Arthur Conan Doyle. It's a murder mystery. Someone dies, you got to find out who did it, and then things keep happening. There's a timetable. If you don't solve it fast enough, other people start dying. It's a really fun adventure, and I didn't just talk about that one. I skipped right over it. I was too busy saying how I don't even have a copy, but that's a really, really cool adventure. The Drake shows up in Eruptor's Vengeance. The Bat is in Screaming Temple. The Greater Wraith guy with the sword under the $15 thing is the Greater Wraith in Thing in the Valley, and then the Necromancer woman all the way to my left is also in Eruptor's Vengeance. So we actually have two from Eruptor, the Bat and the Necromancer. Necromancer is a character class that we have in our version of our BX Retro clone. So we have that as a character class, playable character class in there. But anyway, so and I think one of our stretch goals that we haven't announced yet is BX doesn't have an illusionist. So I think we're going to have that pop up.
Oh, nice. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. We have a gnome, which has illusionist powers. We don't have an actual human illusionist, so I think we're going to do that it'll be a BX. You can use them in any BX game or any BX retro clone. So anyway, so we have STL files. So I appreciate you guys putting it up there, Mike or Eric. Thank you.
Eric.
So it's a cool little add-on.
Mike.
Yeah, I know Mike is.
Not that I'm big on the tech, but I'm
terrible at tech. Yeah.
So anyway, yes, let's see. Matt and Eddie equal long con. Yep, I can't wait to go. I'm really excited. And I know Lou's asking who sculpted Mike. You asked who sculpted him. I will find out from Ben, and then I will post it in the.
I didn't recognize the style. I didn't recognize it, so I'm not sure who did it.
I'll post it in the comments on the once you post this on YouTube. So I'll write down. I'll post it on there. Who did it? Dimitri is our illustrator, so he's the one from Poland. He did the concept art on all those, but I don't know who sculpted them. I honestly don't know. Like I said, Ben handles most all the behind the scenes stuff. I just write down, which is awesome.
Oh, nice.
Just go up on podcast.
Let me ask you a question. So, you guys, you own the old minis from what was the company that went out of business?
Center Stage.
Center Stage. Are you guys doing anything with those anymore, or is there any? What happens to those molds or minis now? Do they just kind of
this is a rabbit hole that we can go down. So we are right now. We're kind of we haven't paused. We migrated our website from our old YouTube. We had a Yahoo website for the longest time, which was Yahoo has an amazing website platform for behind the scenes stuff. Like all the information you can pull out, the data and all that is fantastic, but they're ugly. They're terrible upfront websites. So we moved over to, I think Shopify is who we're with now. And Ben, that migration. So when we did that, we really weren't sure where we want to go. We're a publishing company. We never really wanted to be a miniatures company. We acquired Center Stage because basically nobody else.
Well, it was a good deal at the time because they were just. It
was going through. It went through bankruptcy. It basically was abandoned. So the trustee assigned it all over to us at the end of the day, and we tried to. I'm not going to say we white knighted anything because we didn't. But what we did is we put all the miniatures from the failed Kickstarters. We actually produced them all because they weren't produced.
Because there were some good sculpts in there. There were some really nice
amazing sculpts. I'll tell you one thing. Matt, who owns Center Stage, I would put 90% of his sculpts up against his finished product against any miniature on the planet. They're gorgeous.
Now, that was one of his problems, though. He overpaid for the sculpts, which led to
he had a lot of issues. He loved his hobby. He loved miniatures. He was a terrible businessman, and that was the end of the story. He wasn't a crook. He wasn't any of that.
Crook. He just an awful.
He just screwed up bad. And so anyway, he had 3 Kickstarters run. He ran I don't want to get too deep into the weeds here. So he ran Demons and Devils, which he did complete and fulfill. At least like 95% of that got fulfilled. And then he had Toma Horrors 1, Toma Horrors 2, which are basically a shit ton of Fiend Folio monsters. And those failed, collapsed. He went into bankruptcy, all went away. Well, he had the sculpts all made for all of those figures in those lines. So he spent money. He didn't go out and buy himself a fucking yacht or anything stupid like that. He just ran out of money. He just simply ran out of money. And so when we acquired all those assets, we had what's called the sculpts are called green. So I knew nothing about miniatures before I got into this. Okay, nothing. I just knew I didn't want this all to go to waste and just wind up in a dumpster.
Right.
So we grabbed them, and all the molds are at a company up in Madison, Wisconsin. Let's go back to Gamehole again, home of Gamehole.
But Valiant Minis, I think. Yeah.
So the production facility is up there. That's who Matt used. So we contacted them. We got some numbers on what it would cost, to start putting the stuff, if we want to put this in production. And so what we wound up doing, and this is, okay, there's a bunch of bad ideas that you could do with this kind of situation. We picked the best of all the bad ideas. And for us, that was, we went to all the backers and said, look, if you want these figures, we'll sell them to you essentially at cost. And if for every 5 miniatures you order, we'll send you another one. Pick one, we'll send it to you for free. We got our ass handed to us at the end of the day, but we did deliver a lot of figures. Now, we didn't do it for free. We couldn't. Guys, we're talking about a lot of money here. No molds had been made. Just because you have a green or a sculpt, you have to make what's called a master mold, and then you have to make a production mold off those master mold figures. This is very expensive stuff, and we're talking about 80, 90 figures here that had to get made. Some of them requiring 3 or 4 molds. Some of them were resin figures, which are extremely expensive to produce. So we laid out a lot of money, but we were able to deliver a lot of figures to a lot of people. And, I think we did make a lot of people happy at the end of the day. We still got emails from people a year or two after the fact that were less than pleasant, accusing
they basically they were basically blaming you for the problems of man.
Right. And so we did, we tried to put forward the best thing we could do. So we overproduced some of those figures. We sold them at conventions for a little while, but we really never wanted to be a miniatures company. Miniatures take an awful lot of time. They are, you know why people are doing STL files? Because they don't take, because there's not all the
Right.
miniature handling. It's a lot of process to do miniatures. There's just a lot involved. And God bless people who do it. It's awesome. That's not us. So what we've decided to do is we pulled them off, and we're kind of going through right now the motions of where do we want to go with all this and what do we want to do down the road. That doesn't mean they're going to vanish. We didn't pick this up for them to vanish. And, if it's not us that does something with it, somebody else will. I just right now they're basically they're on pause. That's what we're doing.
I got you.
But
we
do get asked a lot. We do. People come to us all the time. Hey, that frog hemoth is amazing. Can I get one?
It is. It was great.
Well, it's but not right now. He's also crazy money to produce. I mean, I think we have to sell that thing for $50 or $60. It costs. I mean, literally, the cost on the thing's like $35.
Yeah, and usually minis, like a figure might be $1, but that's the more complicated the mini, the more expensive the mini gets.
Especially the resin ones. The resin ones are crazy expensive to produce. The molds are only good for. I know we're good in the inside baseball here. A resin mold will only run about. You can only run about 30 figures, and then you have to remake the molds. So, and again, producing molds is really expensive.
Mm-hmm.
It's really expensive. So every 30 figures, you got to throw the molds out and start over again. You got to sell a lot of figures to make this.
We've got the old. So one of the things.
Small metal figures are different. Like I said, you can produce a shit ton of small metal figures.
We've got the Julie Guthrie molds that Doug bought, and
I talked to Doug a lot about
it for years. Yeah, I'm here at Reaper this week, and I'm hoping to talk to Ron, president of Reaper, and see if we can finally start getting something moving on that. But I mean, like you were saying, Gary and I aren't a miniature company either. I mean, we run a con, but it's great to do something with it because you're sitting there going, you don't want the Julie Guthrie minis to just sit there and do nothing, right? I mean,
no, you don't, because they're awesome.
Because they're awesome. They're some of the best.
We have some in there that Matt. that I think Matt ran a bunch of them for him. We have a bunch of them. Someone just posted something about the dire Corbies.
Oh yeah, those are great.
Freaking awesome. So these are our dire Corbies. I mean, they are the best dire Corbies ever. I mean, they are awesome. I mean, I will say, like I said, Matt, he knew what he was doing when he produced these figures. Unfortunately, the business end killed him.
When he talked to Doug and I about buying the company at one point, and we just turned him down because it was the assets weren't worth what he owed. But the thing, we looked at the books, right? We're looking at the books. He overpaid way overpaid for sculptors. I mean, they should get paid. Yes, they're artists and stuff. They're doing good, but I think it was a case of a fan of stuff getting into a business and not being a businessman and saying, okay. Yeah. I know you want to charge me that much, but I can't pay that much, so I'm going to have to look for somebody else. Or
he needed to have his business plan needed to be a little bit different. I mean, like I said, you're right. He paid a lot of money for his sculpts. At the end of the day, when you look at some of these sculpts, I mean, if this were a large company producing them, they'd make a killing because they can market
sure.
Right? Because the quality of these sculpts, like I said, the quality of these figures is honestly second to none.
Yeah,
I mean,
really good.
You'd be hard pressed to find a really poor figure in that his.
I can't think of one personally. I still have a bunch of the old miniatures. They're very good. Yeah, they're very good.
Yeah. So anyway,
well, I didn't mean to take you down that rabbit hole. I was just curious because.
They're out of the Fiend Folio, which is the worst D&D book ever printed. So someone asked what.
Or if you're Matt Roberts, it's the best book ever printed because. Matt Roberts thinks it's the greatest book of all time.
I'm gonna
probably break some protocol here, but our next podcast, This Old Dungeon. So I'm on This Old Dungeon with Lou, and
I saw that. That's a great duo there. That's a great.
We have some fun with that. Edwin Nagy's on there with us, and so our next podcast is gonna feature the Fiend Folio. So.
Okay,
I'm gonna have to check it out.
Sounds fun.
You guys don't like the Fiend Folio.
You'll have two guys and our guests glowing about the Fiend Folio, how awesome it is, and then you're gonna have me.
You'll be the down.
All right.
You'll be the down.
I'll heckle. That's okay. I'll heckle.
Yeah, we're gonna have some fun.
Nice.
That's gonna be some fun because I am not a fan.
Well, because you're the same age. We're basically the same age.
Yeah.
So the problem with the Fiend Folio is. we're D&D guys, little D&D kids, and we go to the store and a new D&D book comes out, and we get it and we go home and we're like, what WTF? What's going on here? Because first of all, the artists were artists we recognized. It was all the British artists like Rick Nicholson and all those guys. And the monsters were the monsters that I didn't know you noticed till years later. They were featured in the White Dwarf magazines. They were the weirdest, craziest, just over the top weird monsters. Like the Adherer is one of them. But I mean, there was just some really awful monsters. They were awful. Look, they had no cosmology. Cosmology is an important thing with a monster. You can't have a flump. What's a flump? It's a flump. I mean, come on.
We have a flump. So like I said, Matt did. He's got. I mean, our figure range is like 70 or 80 figures from people. We have 2 flumps. Sell the shit out of them. But it's and look, we have a lot of UK customers, so I'm going to be very delicate here, but it is a very strange UK product. So and I know a lot of people love that book, absolutely love it. And you're right, Mike. Back in the day when it came out, it was so alien compared to all the other TSR hardcovers, right? It looked different, the art was different, the monsters were very strange.
You know what a good monster book was that came out? Was Monster Manual 2. Monster Manual 2, that's what you expected to get. You expected a Monster Manual 2, which eventually came, which is great. Monster Manual 2 is great. A lot of great art in there. Oh, it's just great.
Yeah.
But you got the Fiend Folio. The Fiend Folio was just like weird, just so weird strange stuff you couldn't even use in your campaign. It was just so odd. And I remember just being so disappointed thinking, oh, well, there's like, there's maybe there was some good monsters, a couple of them. I mean, they had a couple of good things.
There's some iconic stuff in there. You can't deny there's some
you're not going to use it.
But they also cheated, right? Because they pulled some great monsters from regular TSR modules. I mean,
the Drow, the Drow and stuff.
The Drow in there, right? Yeah. So they absolutely kind of built it up with some on the back end with some of that stuff. But we're not going to get into a Fiend Folio discussion.
Oh, come on, man! I was trying to get you all fired up.
I got to do it in like 2 weeks, and I can't take it.
You can't do it twice. You can't get bent out of shape twice. But Bill, I want you to know I'm with you, Bill. I'm with you on that one. I don't understand why the love for the Fiend Folio comes from.
I love the Fiend Folio. That was awesome. But I was reading White Dwarf at the time, so I was prepped for it.
Okay.
I already was enjoying the British angle to RPGs. I guess Mike.
Look at Lou. He's hedging. There's gems in there. There's gems in coal. My ass.
Diamonds from coal.
When did the Monster Manual 2 came out? That was like 86?
Yeah, right around there.
Okay, see, that was when that came out, I'm sitting there going, okay, this is what I wanted. No, it says 83. I'm sorry, 83. Why did I say 86? 83. Well, 83 is awesome. Yeah. Makes sense. That was great. I love the Monster Manual 2. Awesome because
a lot of great stuff.
It had a great Elmore cover. It had great Jim Holloway.
Jim Holloway art
in there. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some great stuff in there. I mean, there's a couple things. There's a couple garbage sections there. The whole Modron thing is just kind of a waste of space. But there's some great stuff in Monster Manual 2, for sure.
But Fiend Folio, I'm with you.
It just looked out, like you said. The appearances have a lot to do with products, right? So, I mean, we're talking about here, like I said, we're talking about our old Pacesetter modules that look, that were in the same kind of deal as old TSR, separate cover, separate interior book. This is a third printing of Thing in the Valley, but so you've got black and white interior and all that kind of stuff. Our modern Pacesetter books don't get anything like this.
We lost Mike to the hotel. He'll be back.
Timed out probably on his hotel internet, or he didn't pay his bill.
You're not you Mike only signed up for 12 hours of internet. What? Frog got too cheap. God damn it!
That's what he gets for staying in the Motel 6 or wherever the hell he's at.
Oh my god! And there was no warning. At least like when I lose Mike when he's at the warehouse, he starts freezing like once or twice. Right. And do you see, here he is?
I'm sorry. I'm looking around looking for Fiend Folio pictures, and I accidentally clicked me up myself. I have issues. I'm an old man. I have issues.
Well, that's what happens when you click on the Fiend Folio.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what happens.
God. We thought your hotel wireless just timed out on you.
No, actually, the wireless is really good here. I'm very happy with the wireless here. It's actually really, really good.
Well, now that you're back, Mike, should I even? You know what? No, we'll leave you on the bottom. I think that you look fine on the bottom.
Oh,
There.
yeah, I'll stay down there. I'll stay down there.
Little musical chair action.
Well, you know, or I could put Mike in the first chair.
Oh my God! Look, Eric's just a whiz at this stuff.
Yeah. When we have
Cool.
James Braggy on in a week and a half on the Friday night show, I already told
God.
already told Joe the lawyer. I go, Joe, you're going to be in chair number 1. I am only going to be taking care of the chair.
You're gonna make Joe deal with when Raggy shows up without any clothes on. You're gonna make Joe deal with that.
I am really going to be tech support and a few random interjections. It's going to be Joe. Joe got got Raggy to agree to come on. It's Joe's show.
I say equal. I would bet equal money that he will show up without clothes on, and I hope he does. I really hope.
Oh,
he
I
does,
thank you, Mike. You know, we're gonna lose our family rating. Usually we drop F-bombs.
Oh, it's gonna be glorious. It'll be glorious. James is actually a nice guy. I've talked to him before online about. We actually talked a lot more than that I have lately. But we exchanged emails quite a bit. It was always a nice guy. I never had issues with James. He's a shock jock, yes, but you know his heart's in the right place. I think.
But he's better at it than others. You know?
Well, yeah, he does a better job than V does. V's a shock jock without the quality control. So.
Oh. So you're saying like V is like Bubba the Love Sponge? That's really big myself.
You know what? Why am I wasting time talking about him right now? We should. Why am I wasting time talking about him? But yeah, there is a lot. There's some shock jocks in the hobby right now, unfortunately. So there are quite a few shock jocks.
It's grown so large, right? I mean, it's so expansive. I mean, even the OSR. I mean, it's funny when you look back at even OSR publishers, right? I mean, I kind of miss the initial wave of it just because I was just getting back into things from, raising kids and all that kind of good stuff. And so, I mean, you got kind of the initial wave of the OSR was pretty much where Troll Lord, Goblinoid,
Mythmere, that was
Stuart Marshall and Matt with Osric. There was just a few at the very outset.
Expeditious Retreat.
And then Expeditious Retreat, and kind of I kind of rolled in Frog Rod. I know never around in the D20, but Frog Rod came in, with a year or two, and there's just a few. It was like a second wave. There's a few of us, and then there was like a tidal wave.
Yes,
about 10 years. About 10 years into it, right, and into where we're at now.
Jen, there is no Pacesetter giveaway. Jen,
stop talking about.
She wants to win a prize because she's so lucky winning prizes. She thinks
I'll send Jennifer a prize.
There you go.
I'll send Jennifer a prize.
Don't feed into her delusions. Don't feed into her delusions. No.
Listen. We don't do drawings on days when I'm working from a laptop. I need my second screen. I don't have.
Yes, we got to have that. Yes. Don't ask us to do that.
Yeah, but
you're right. You're right, Bill. Yeah. The original days were great, and the thing was, and Eric and I talk about this a lot because one of the first, some of the first blogs we ever read were like Grognardia, and then James Rein's blog, but also Eric's blog was one of the first ones I read, and it was cool because you get on your blog feed, there'd be all this kick-ass content for free on all these blogs, and that was the greatest part. And I kind of miss the blogs. I really miss that blogosphere that was out there that had, oh my gosh, Chicago Wizard was one of them. I'm trying to remember all the. There was just so many great.
Rob Conley.
Yeah, Rob Conley stuff was great. I mean, there was so much. The blogs were great, and then and you didn't have any shock jocks. There weren't any shock jocks. It was just people putting out content, right?
Well, you had shock jocks to some extent because you had Zach S, but they weren't all about the shock. They were about the content first, and maybe a personality that didn't fit the norm.
Well, there were look, the internet was the Wild West back then in a way, but it also wasn't because the venues for the shock jocks weren't as pronounced as they are today, right?
Right.
There's so many more platforms for them today to do what they want to do versus when we started out. I mean, I know when I started Pacesetter, I didn't look. I mean, I printed Thing in the Valley at an actual printer, paid for all the art up front, paid for everything, paid for them to get printed and all that. I had no idea how I was actually even going to sell them because, web stores at the time were still a very, very new thing. I had no clue how to set one up. I mean, I was really active on the Achaeum back then. And I just posted on there, said, hey guys, I did this module and, talked about it. And people bought them via posting on a thread and private messages. We sold all 100 I printed. Well, I kept 2. So I sold 98 of them in less than 24 hours. But
really?
Yeah. That first printing sold out in less than a day. It was insane. And that's when I was like, because Eric, I thought I'd be selling 100 of them. It'd take me 2 years to sell them. I had no idea how that would go. I had no clue. But the whole world of I mean, there was no Facebook back then. I mean, there was no YouTube.
You had MySpace. Come on.
Right. There was just, it was a different way of doing things. So now I think with the expansion of the internet, the way it is, it just gives us the quote unquote shock jocks that and honestly, I can tell you right now, I know the names you guys are talking about. I barely know anything about anybody because I just don't pay attention. When it gets into that kind of stuff, I tune right the hell out. I mean, I know who Raggy is because we actually carried his stuff with Gen Con back in the day. So I know Lamentations, but I don't know much about it, honestly. I don't know much about James. I just know, he's got his niche and that's what he does. And he does it extremely well. But like the rest, like Venger, kind of, I don't, these guys start getting this way. Honestly, I just tune it all up because I enjoy this hobby because it's fun and it's entertaining and it's not negative. When I see people get all crazy negative and all that kind of stuff, I step back from it. I don't need to be a part of the drama. I don't want it in my life. I don't think I need it. So, but it's hard to avoid it because it's there. It's always there.
But see, like you're established. Looking at your Kickstarter, looking at the numbers, look at your sales. You got 3 weeks to go. You're looking very good. But it's the market that you initially came into. What 20 years ago, almost, or 15 years ago. 15. Didn't have the ability for people to suddenly hop on drive-through and self-publish PDFs and print on demand. So you do have the few projects like OSC that shoot right to the top, and or Huge or Mork Borg, right? Things that stand out and right off. But otherwise, people are jockeying to try to find how do I get myself out there and known. And it's been going on since the day of the blogs. When the blogs were, people were like, "Oh well, I need to get mentioned on this blog and that blog because the only way I'm going to get sales is," and it's changed because Facebook and I think Twitter is fading, but Facebook is so much a part of what goes on.
Oh, it's so much. It's a huge part of any. If you're on Kickstarter, Facebook's got to be a big part of your business plan. But you're right about that though, because I was just the other day. I was I don't know. You're scrolling through Facebook, or whatever, and we're posting our stuff, and I see this Kickstarter, and I'm not going to name names because honestly I couldn't remember who it is right now anyway. But I see Kickstarter, I click on it because I'm like, oh, that art looks pretty cool, and it was so and so's whatever, right? And the guy's name. Name of the Kickstarter. And I'm like, I never heard of this guy. So I click on it and it's doing $500,000. It's his first Kickstarter he's ever done. I'm like, so I grab Ben and I go, do you know who this guy is? He goes, oh yeah, he's part of this. I don't remember the name because again, I'm not in tune to this stuff, but apparently he's on some giant 5e YouTube channel thing with probably 500,000 subscribers. And he put out a book and he's gonna go to $1 million on this thing if it's not there already. And more power to him. I'm not being judgmental or nothing like that, but it's but he it's easy for them to with Kickstarter to transition something like a very well-known YouTube channel.
Well, that's what Matt Colville did, right? I mean, that's
Monetizing
what he
the
did
book.
with the Strongholds book. I mean, he built up an audience online. He streamed, he did stuff, and then boom, everybody's like, "Where'd this guy come from? He has $1 million Kickstarter." He worked on it. He worked on it. I mean, because he worked his name.
Yeah.
You got to get your name big. He got his name big, and once he got his name big, then.
But like I said, the funny thing was I saw this guy's name. I'd never heard of him in my life. I'm like, I don't know who this guy is. And Ben's like, oh, Ben knew exactly who he was and what was going on. I'm like, okay.
Because you're old, Bill. You're old.
I'm old. I'm not in it.
You don't know these guys. Yes.
Yeah, he's in tune with it, and he deals with some of these people. So,
God bless.
Yeah, but it's fascinating to see that because Eric, you are right about that. You know, it's all the dynamics of all this stuff has changed for sure.
Oh God, I remember.
Yeah.
We're gonna go back a number of years. I covered like James Bond when he put out White Star. White Star shot to the roof.
Yep.
I made good money on my affiliate sales on that, and I had a broken link for my first 6 hours, and I still had hundreds of copies sold in that first week through my link. Great, but then maybe a year or two later, I hear rumblings, and again, we're not going to talk names. Somebody else with their science fiction game that didn't do nearly as well, and the rumblings were, well, if Tenkar had only put as much effort into showing this project,
that's all your fault, Eric. It was your fault.
But the thing is, now blogs don't have that influence anyway, right? We've moved on beyond that.
Yeah.
We moved on to now it's the YouTube channels, it's Kickstarter, it's Facebook, and even the Facebook ads. I mean, you have to have something for Facebook ad to actually sell you something.
Right.
But Facebook ads are effective if you have a product.
Yeah.
And if you know.
There's no question. And like I'm like, I don't know how much you do that. I know I Frog God's bigger than we are, clearly. But we also share a lot in common that we've been around for a while. So I think part of the reason we do well on Kickstarter with our projects is because we've been around for so long. We built a customer base up kind of the hard way, right, Mike? I mean, we did it by selling through a web store and then going to conventions and shaking hands.
Going to conventions is underrated. People don't understand why you have to go to conventions. And the thing is, it's not the funnest. Sometimes going to a convention is the funnest thing to do. I mean, it's not. But,
work all day.
If you're flying or driving into Gary Con in February, it's snow on the ground, it's a blizzard, as Zach and I did once. Yeah. It's not the funnest thing ever. But your fans like to see you at that, and I say your fans because these are people who buy your books and they want to see you and talk to you and bounce ideas off you. So you have to put that part into it. But yeah, it's work, man. It's a job and it's work.
Yeah. I mean, for us, me and Ben talk all the time, conventions are a big deal for us. We want to go out there. We want to shake hands with people. We want to thank people who, like you said, there's a bunch of people that a lot of these conventions, we're not going to sell them anything in a convention because they've bought all our stuff. But our business model now is transitioned to the point where we really, really don't care at a convention. Like, we don't need to kill it at a convention as long as we're there and we're relevant and we're talking to people and all that, because we know on the back end, Kickstarter is for companies like ours. Kickstarter is our business model, right? I mean, we have a web store. We sell stuff on our web store. We sell some stuff on drive-through, but Kickstarter is our business model for the most part, right? And it feeds the rest of it, I should say.
Right.
So, but we did that. Some of us older companies did that through, and even Necrotic Gnome, right? Because before it was Old School Adventures, it was. It's called something else.
That was
BX Essentials or something.
BX Essentials.
Mm-hmm. Something like that. So they ran through 3 or 4 editions before he got to blow up into a $700,000 Kickstarter. So it's about building that rapport with people.
Well, there's a point you're making here, Bill. That we talk about. We talk about this a lot. I know a lot of people. I know Zach and Skeeter do a really good small game companies presentation at conventions and stuff. Yeah. But there's one thing we talk about is, you see the Kickstarter where the guy publishes the potato salad recipe and makes $1 million. That's great. And then 100 other people publish potato salad recipes, don't do anything. I mean, stuff like that. But really, you have to work at this. This is something you work at. And the people who are successful, for by and large, if you look at what they've done and you sit there and go, why'd this guy blow up? Like, why'd that OSC guy blow up? He did his work. He did work on this. Yeah. And these guys do their work. I mean, why does this guy make money? This guy doesn't. Usually it's because the guy, has a following, and he's put his time in. He's put his work in, and that's so hard to get across to some people that this isn't just luck. You don't just publish it and this maybe for some reason it gets picked up by the media, and you next thing you know, you look at your Kickstarter page and it's $300,000. That doesn't usually happen. What usually happens is you put in your work, you get your fans, you go to conventions, you work hard, and you slowly build an audience, and then finally you start getting out into the public. Whereas, hey, this guy he puts out his Kickstarters on time. They're always good. They cost whatever. They're not late, and then you start building a reputation from there, and then people start investing in your Kickstarter.
One thing I go back to, and I know I might be getting into the weeds on a lot of this stuff, is, for Kickstarter, right? Kickstarter came about originally. It was a place for you to showcase your idea, sell your idea, right, to people, and then get the money and then produce your idea. I mean, it's not that now. Now Kickstarter is for us OSR guys, mostly, and 5e guys, it's a pre-sale, for the most part.
Right, it's pre-sale. Yeah.
I know your products are done before they ever hit Kickstarter. Ours are done before they ever hit Kickstarter for the most part, right? The only thing we're doing after Kickstarter is probably finishing artwork up.
Sure.
Spending some of the big money stuff. So, but the component is pretty much wrapped up. So, but it's still, I think for us, it's super important, or for Pacer, when we decide what we're going to do and put a Kickstarter up, we think long and hard about the actual idea, because the idea is critically important. You have to have you still have to have a really good idea to be successful. Look, you might get lucky, catch lightning in a bottle, but the odds are you're not. You have to have a good idea. Right. It has to be presented well, and hopefully you have some sort of history with people that you can put that forward. And that, like you said, Mike, that takes a lot of work. That doesn't happen overnight usually. And you just keep putting your good ideas out there. Sooner or later, your Frog God's going to hit a $500,000 Kickstarter. Sooner or later, Pacesetter is going to hit a $500,000.
Well, I'll give you an example.
It doesn't have to happen for us. It doesn't. It's not what I'm striving for. We just want to be successful. But you just keep working those good ideas and working, and you can get there. The problem with a lot of people who do Kickstarters is you could throw a lot of Kickstarters out there, but if they're not really good ideas, they're not innovative, you're eventually just going to fade out, because instead of your backer count going up every Kickstarter, I've watched a lot of guys, their backer count goes down every Kickstarter.
Wow.
That's not where you want to be.
No.
Because you're just throwing shit out.
I was going to say about, like, for instance, one of the things is when we go to a convention and Bill Webb's a special guest, his games will fill up. Yeah. We don't necessarily get any sales out of that. That doesn't translate to sales. What that translates to is happy fans, because the people who get Bill's game want to game with Bill, and they're a fan of Bill, and that's what they want, and they want to do. And like I said, it doesn't necessarily translate to sales. It just translates to goodwill in the community, and that hopefully will lead to sales down the road. I mean, there's no immediate effect from that. And that's the thing. I think a lot of people think that, like you said, Bill, you're just going to be an immediate success because, unfortunately, and my grandson, he's 18, wonderful kid. You guys have met him. We talk about this stuff all the time. And one of the things, the generational differences, one of the things is, and he will admit this, kids don't work that hard nowadays. They don't feel like they have to work that hard because they feel like, you know what? You could just hit lucky being a streamer. And he was joking the other day. He posted something on a TikTok, and he got like 1,500 hits on TikTok, and we were laughing about it, like, "Oh, you're a TikTok star now," but and he didn't even try to do it. He's like, and I was like, I don't even know how to monetize, and I have no clue what to do. He just puts something up there, and he just got popular. But that's the attitude of a lot of millennials nowadays: is, hey, I'm just going to get lucky, man. I'm just going to throw something up on TikTok. I'm going to stream something. I'm going to do whatever, and boom, it's going to hit. I'm going to do an OnlyFans page, or whatever they think, and it's just going to boom, it's going to hit. And that's like winning the lotto, right? It just doesn't happen.
It is. It's again, I'll overuse that phrase. It's like catching lightning in a bottle. It just doesn't. So it'll happen to someone. Someone's going to win the lottery, right?
I don't think exactly like even the only the successful OnlyFans pages. Those girls work at it. That's their job. If you talk to they just didn't get lucky. and I'm joking about it, but the successful OnlyFans pages, the girls that make $500,000, whatever, that's their job, and they work hard at it, and they've done a lot of marketing, and they're usually business savvy. They don't just throw their nude pictures up there and make $1 million. That they have a business strategy, they have advisors. I mean, this stuff, they work hard at doing that. I don't think enough of us. I don't think
so.
I want to say kids. I don't think they see that. I don't think they see the hard work behind.
No, they don't. Except I've been in construction my whole life, and I just see I've seen all the different generations come into the construction field. I'm just telling you, right now is a different world than it's ever been. It's really, really bad. Mm-hmm. But this is how out of touch I am. I've heard of this OnlyFans or whatever it is that you're calling. I have no idea what that actually is. No clue.
Should we explain? Do we have to explain this?
No.
OnlyFans.
I don't want to.
I'll do it.
No.
I'll do it. I'll explain it. I'll do it.
Mike.
We can talk at Game Hole about it, Mike. How's that?
Yes. It'll be something the two of you can share in private.
Because it sounds like something I probably don't really want.
Seriously, I can write. It's look. Just the simple thing is, it's a place for women to post pictures of themselves in various states of undress, and you get fans, and they send you money for basically,
it's a Patreon for people who strip down.
Big time.
Pretty
But the really successessful ones are very professional.
Okay. I barely know what Patreon is.
Do you know what coffee is? Because I have a coffee page.
And now I know what coffee is.
Coffee is it's a way for artists who don't make any money. It became as far as I'm going to buy you a cup of coffee when you go to a convention. That's what it came about as. And so these artists would do these Patreons. Like, look, I'm a poor artist. You know how artists are. Artists are artists, and they don't have any money. Yep. And so they would say, "Can you send me $5, $3, pay for this?" So this became an actual donation site like Patreon. Well, hey, donate to us. And it's funny because you look at some of these artists, and not making fun of artists. Artists, I mean, I know hardworking artists. A lot of them are really good at their job, but they will push their page over and over and over again because they don't have any money, and they go to these conventions and they can't even eat lunch. Food's expensive now. Drinks are expensive, and they can't afford to go to these conventions and also eat. They can go to a convention and not eat, or not go to the convention and eat. So
they should eat and not go to conventions. But
right. So I've inadvertently kind of given away how have we put out so many products in 14 years? Because I have no idea what's going on in the real world.
That's good. That is good. Just because I have, the thing is, you have kids. I've got grandkids. That's how I learn all this.
But our kids. So I hate to be this way, Mike. I mean, our kids were really busy, and by really busy, they were all. And it wasn't anything my wife and I actually really pushed real hard. It just kind of went that way. All three of our kids played high-level sports. A lot of high-level sports.
And that's very busy. That keeps you very busy.
Ben played baseball, football, and basketball. Basketball is more of a winter thing to stay in shape, but he played football and baseball. He played a very high level. I mean, he won't let me talk about, he wound up getting hurt in high school. Otherwise, he was probably going places.
Right.
My oldest daughter was an all-state softball player with scholarships in Florida. I mean, so they were so busy, and we were so busy doing all that with them. We still don't know what most kids were doing because we were in a different segment of that parenting population. Our kids were all so busy in travel sports, and we loved it at the time. They loved it, and it worked out well.
You know what though? It's good for kids because it keeps them out of trouble. And I've kept I talk about Jake's flying lessons a lot. That's the best thing that ever happened to him. Best thing that ever happened to him because he's busy all the damn time. Right. He's either taking flight classes, or he's flying, or he's taking flight tests, and it just keeps you busy. It keeps you out of trouble is what it does.
And that's how it wound up working out with all the kids. I think our kids are always too busy really to get in trouble because all kids do kids things, but my wife and I, when we look at each other, we're like, you hear about what other kids, families' kids did and stuff like that, and you're like, wow, did we get lucky, but they were busy.
Keep the kids busy, man. That's like that really is the best advice. That works really well. And I know just knowing my 18-year-old grandson, he's happiest when he's busy. Right now, he's got a full-time job. He's going to college, He just started his college semester 2 weeks ago, and he's got flight lessons. He has no time. I think he's supposed to go out on a date tomorrow night. I said, "You're actually going to go out on a date?" He goes, "I have like one night free." I was like, "Well, that's good. You should have fun. Go have fun and go on a date. That's great."
Yeah.
But But yeah, keep the kids out of trouble and keep them away from that stuff. But going back to the thing about the millennials and it's a different world, is just that that's one thing I just try to beat to my grandkids' head, is that anything you want, you have to work hard for, and it's just not going to just drop on you. And I know that sentiments. I'm not saying necessarily kids are worse now than they've always been, because I think that sentiment's always been part of.
I think the instantaneousness of your cell phone and everything else that makes them like, oh, I could order from Amazon.
What other time in history?
Why can't I get?
What other time in history could you just pick up your phone and I'm going to do a video, and the next day you wake up and you're an instant star on Instagram? Never in our history of the world has that ever been possible, where you can just pick up your cell phone and be a star the next day. And so it's different.
Like I said, we wound up selling, and I'm retiring out of our large construction company that I've been an owner in for a long time, and I've seen hiring over the years. But I will say absolutely, what's going on today is even significantly different than it was 5 or 6 years ago, because you're right, Mike. The 18 and 19-year-olds today, they really don't want to do labor work. They really don't.
No,
they much rather. Oh, no. Their worldview is, I can be successful with my head, with my brain, which is a good view to have. But they don't see the value maybe in hard physical work to get somewhere down the road where you can use your that level of progression to advance in a job. They just I think they kind of look at it as they want to go from A to Z. They don't want to stop at all the letters in between. And we see that in construction. It's really gotten, I don't want to say bad. It's gotten very challenging over the last 5 years.
It's not just construction though, Bill. It's every profession.
Young guys in. It is. And we constantly have to bring young guys in to do the work that we do, because you honestly, in the business that we're in, at 40 years old, you're not doing what you were doing at 20. It's just not a thing anymore. So, my
wife works she works in engineering, and the kids come to engineering, like they'll hire 10 kids, and it used to be you hire 10 kids, especially for a big company like Lockheed Martin or something. That's what their job is. They stick with that job, and 10 years later, 8 of them we work for the company. You hire 10 kids now, 1 of them will be there in 10 years. They scatter. They just go off and do other things. They don't stick with the job anymore. That's just
we know that already. For every 5 that we bring in, if we keep 1, we're lucky. If one of them makes it 6 months, we're lucky.
And then my youngest brother, he works for AAA Insurance, and it's even worse there. They spend all this time training these people, and literally to have them quit after 2 weeks. Because I don't think I want to be in insurance anymore. You just went to 6 weeks of school to learn how to do this, and you know what? Nah, I'm gonna go do this over here.
I'll tell you what, it sucks. It sucks as a corporation, because you have to invest a lot lot of money and time into these people.
You do.
You have to
training's huge. Training is a giant expense. It's a giant expense. Yeah.
Yep. Lou says he's been doing 24. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like, see what you're saying, Lou, 100%.
We're old and we don't like the way things are now with young kids. Damn it.
Then get off our lawn.
Get off our lawn.
Get off our lawn, you kids.
They don't want to work our road jobs uphill, both ways, barefoot,
in the snow.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, we'll say part of it is kids nowadays have more options. That's true. They do have a lot more options.
Yeah, they do.
But they also, more options leads to, you know what? I don't have any sense of urgency because I can find another job. I'll just go do this job for a while. And it was such a big deal when we were younger you found a job and you kept your job and you stayed there. And now it's like, whatever. I'll do this for a while.
We're like I said, we're really close to the same age. I mean, when I got out of high school, you couldn't get a job at McDonald's. The economy was so bad.
Anybody.
It was
no, and if you found a job, you kept it with both hands. You grabbed it because you did not know if I remember I had a job my whole life, and I remember the bank I worked at, they laid us off because there was a savings and loan crisis in the 80s. Remember that? And I thought, I'll go get another job. Bill, I couldn't find a job at Walden's. I had a college degree. I looked for like 8 months.
Oh yeah.
I could not find a job as a McDonald's worker. And nowadays, they're just I walk around everywhere. It's like we're hiring $15 an hour. I'm like,
isn't it crazy?
Crap. Yes,
It's crazy.
They never had that opportunity when I was a kid. It was always,
no.
if you got a job, you kept that job and you grabbed onto it because you did not know when the next one's going to come along. And it's just, it's not the same world.
I delivered newspapers till I was like 17, and I got a real job. I graduated high school. I was young. I graduated high school at 17, but I got a job out of high school actually at McDonald's. I remember I made $2.25 an hour. That's what I got paid.
That was minimum wage, right? Minimum wage is about that much.
It was minimum wage, and I think you got a quarter after like 6 months or something like that.
There you go.
I'm going to tell you about me working at the music store. When I worked there, I was that was after I didn't have a job for 8 months. I took a job at the mall working in a music store because I couldn't find a job. I looked everywhere. And like I said, and now, I think they paid me minimum. They paid me a little, like $1 over minimum wage, because like, oh, it looks like you have an extensive job history. Yes, I worked at a bank, and I'm taking a job in music. I have an extensive job history, so they paid me like $6 an hour instead of $5. And I was like, I was happy to get it because that was the '80s, man. The '80s is crazy, and yeah, it's a different world now. Now, my grandson. He got a job my grandson got a job at Whataburger for $15 an hour, which I don't think I made till I was 30, by the way. And he got $15 an hour. And then he quit after. He's like, I don't really like that. I'm going to work for Walmart. They're hiring at 17. I'm like, okay, I guess if you could do that, do it. And he got a great job he likes now, but he's like, yeah, I think I might get another job again. I mean, he just jumping around like, God, we would have never done that. We would have never done that.
It's so funny how people love to, there's so much glorification of the 80s, right, and stuff like that. But it's like, you people were, you must have very short memories. I mean, for fuck's sake, I remember you could only go to the gas station on every odd day based on your license plate number. Remember that?
Oh my God, yeah, I forgot about that.
Jesus Christ,
well, we really do sound like old men now. This is old.
22% interest rates to buy a home. I mean,
can you believe that? I can't even. Yep. Now I can't even believe that the interest rates used to pay. Now my wife and I bitch because we bought a new car and it was 3% interest. We're like, what happened to 0% interest? Where's 0%? We wanted 0%. Oh, yep. And you'd have been lucky to get that 20% years ago.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that's just what you're paying.
Mike, is Jennifer's comment referring to you?
I'm pretty sure
it is. Of course it is.
I'm dragging you guys. Yeah, I've probably dragged you guys.
You're not dragging us. No.
Yeah, but we are over 2 hours, Mike.
Oh my God! Because we're talking to Bill. We lost track of time.
I know.
This is what we do at conventions. This is what happens.
Oh, exactly. I know.
Everyone wants to know what happens at a convention. This is it. We run our booze all day, and then we go sit around and drink and talk all night.
Yeah, Jerry, Eric. This has to be your easiest hosting session.
Just let Bill talk.
Bill was a great guest because Bill is a source of a lot of knowledge and a lot of inside baseball knowledge that you're not going to hear unless you go to conventions. So
we got to tell these stories. Bill and I have to tell these stories because when we're gone, nobody's telling these stories anymore. They're not going to tell these dumb stories about.
No, the hair was never here. The hair,
we missed the hair.
No, he's still not home. He still hasn't. He hasn't rolled home. I don't think he's got home. I haven't heard.
Good Lord, he dissed us, Eric. He showed us who's boss.
That's okay. He didn't
show up for the show. Wow.
I don't know what to tell you.
Yes,
we'll have to have them on separately. They'll get a 2 for the price of 1.
You'll be better off.
So here, let me get Zach's spam out of the way. 2 things on the bottom of the screen. If I could have put more space between them, I would, but apparently I can't. Ko-fi, kind of like coffee.com/Bad Mike. Bad Mike is raising money so him and Zach can eat really bad, shitty food.
It sounds terrible when you put it like that, but you know what? That's pretty close to exactly what we're going to be doing with this money. So
now,
yes.
I do have one requirement for this since we are advertising it here. Okay, and I know you're going to record this on Facebook or whatever, or you're going to post it on Facebook. I want actual copies of the video so they can be special installments here on this channel.
Well, I guess we could do that
if people are going to be paying that much money to watch YouTube fuckers eat. All right, bad food, green burgers, and shit like that.
Bad food is good food. It's good. It's good stuff.
On Facebook, you might get 20 views. Here, you'll get a couple of hundred. And I think people should see that. They should see what they're paying for.
Interested. Okay, yeah. All right, we'll talk. Your guys can talk to our guys, and we'll work this out.
All right.
I like
Bill, your link is the next link because I put a short link in there. tankcars-tavern.games/TOQ, Tome of Quests, Volume 1. It's the early Pacesetter adventures. If you haven't checked out the various adventures from Pacesetter, I have a number. I have a few that are boxed and numbered because when I first went to North Texas, I made sure I snagged a lot of that crap. It's good stuff. You won't go wrong. You'll enjoy it.
Then you'll freeze up.
Bill is a guy. Ben, great hair. Not here, so we can't say anything more than that. Did I miss anything, Mike?
I think you hit everything.
I think you got it.
I thanked all my coffee. Once again, we run this down. Win Marsh, Heather Gardner, Gary Oliver, Ty Beard, Steve Getty, Noah Green, Doug Bartholomew, and of course, the one and only Joe Dameron, who became a monthly subscriber. Thank you guys all for supporting this ridiculous endeavor. So,
just so you folks know, this, I'm going to push up, is what you've created. So, God bless you.
Oh,
and the autonomy is perfect. All right, folks. As always, we're in the midst of the endemic now. Use your common sense. My hand, I don't care what you do as long as you use something that resembles common sense. Be safe, be well, God bless. Roll those dice, roll them well. I will be back again tomorrow with some random piece of video. Discord hangout at 9 p.m. Myself and Glenn Hallstrom on Friday night at 8. And Rach and I, 8 o'clock on Saturday. Not this Saturday, the following Saturday, we will have Michael Hovermail as a special guest. All right, folks. On that note, we're out of here.
Later, friends.